Chapter 11:13. What an excellent spirit stone mine. The Zifu disciples of the Ji clan headquarters, as well as Ning and his father, had all hurried to the spirit stone mine. Previously, when the unaffiliated primal adept had broken through to become an earth immortal, it had caused an enormous disturbance. This place was within the territory of the Ji clan, and so the Ji clan members had naturally hurried over. 4,000 kilometers in circumference and 300 kilometers deep. This is an enormous spirit stone mine. We've struck it rich. We've struck it rich. The faces of the members of the Ji clan were all shining. This is indeed an enormous fortune. The patriarch of the Ji clan, the master of the city of 10,000 swords, 9 fire, had a very solemn look on his face. Although such an enormous spirit stone mine is within the territory of our Ji clan, according to the laws of the Grand Xia dynasty, this is the fortune of our Ji clan. However, such an enormous fortune is a disaster, not a blessing. Patriarch, can it be that someone dares to seize it? The laws of the Grand Xia dynasty are no joke. A gray-robed old woman behind 9 fire had a gloomy look on her face. This belongs to our Ji clan. Anyone who dares to seize it is a violation of the laws of the Grand Xia dynasty and will be attacked by the Rain Dragon Guard. In addition, our Ji clan isn't so easily manipulated by others. Your Ji clan isn't so easily manipulated? Heh, I'd like to give it a try. A cold laugh suddenly rang out in the air, and then a ray of black light howled through the air, transforming into an enormous black cloth that floated high above the heads of the Ji clan members. Atop this enormous black cloth, there were 5 men and women. All of them had vast auras and murderous auras. The leader was a black-robed man, whose entire body emanated a sinister, baleful aura. Dong Ziki? Seeing this black-robed man, the faces of the members of the Ji clan changed dramatically. Dong Ziki was a peak Zifu disciple. He was an elder of the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain. The power of the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain vastly surpassed that of the Ji clan's 5 prefectures. At the very most, the Ji clan's 5 prefectures could produce 6 Zifu disciples. However, the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain even had Wanxiang adepts. It would be extremely easy for them to wipe out the Ji clan. What's more, they had the headquarters of Snow Dragon Mountain behind them. The headquarters of Snow Dragon Mountain was a large sect that had primal adepts. 9 fire. Just now, did one of you say that the Ji clan isn't a pushover? Hands clasped behind his back, Dong Ziki glanced sideways at the members of the Ji clan, his face filled with disdain. He didn't hold the Ji clan in any regard at all. It was as though he was looking down upon a group of ants. Bastard. This sort of condescending, disdainful disdain caused Ning to feel extremely angry. However, Ning knew that he had to endure. He had no choice but to endure. Snow Dragon Mountain was too powerful. He wasn't someone the Ji clan could afford to offend. No. How could our Ji clan dare to boast like this? Faced with Snow Dragon Mountain's might, 9 fire had no choice but to lower his head and smile. Brother Ziki, may I know why you've come this time? What is it? Dong Ziki glanced sideways at 9 fire, then flicked his sleeves. Your Ji clan really is audacious. You dare to swallow such a large spirit stone mine. Can you swallow it? He stretched out a finger, pointing toward the Ji clan. You think you have what it takes? You think your puny little Ji clan would dare to have such delusions? Aren't you afraid that your clan will be exterminated? Damnable bastard. Hearing Dong Ziki's words and seeing Dong Ziki's attitude, the members of the Ji clan were all enraged. However, all they could do was endure. Brother Ziki, you jest. 9 fire chortled. This spirit stone mine is located within the territory of our Ji clan. How can we not swallow it? According to the laws of the Grand Xia, this spirit stone mine belongs to our Ji clan. Who would dare to offend the mighty Rain Dragon Guards of the Grand Xia? The laws of the Grand Xia? Rain Dragon Guards? Dong Ziki frowned, a cold light flashing through his eyes. 9 fire, I don't have the patience to chat with you any longer. I'll tell you clearly. This spirit stone mine is going to be taken by our Snow Dragon Mountain. Fellow Taoist Ziki, isn't your Snow Dragon Mountain being a bit too overbearing? This is the territory of our G clan. Can it be that your Snow Dragon Mountain wishes to defy the laws of the Grand Xia? Upon hearing the words, this spirit stone mine is going to be taken by Snow Dragon Mountain, the face of Nine Fire, who had been smiling this entire time, turned cold. The other members of the G clan all gripped their weapons as well. Ha! Our Snow Dragon Mountain abides by the laws. Naturally, we don't dare to defy the laws of the Grand Xia, nor will we defy them. Dong Ziki laughed coldly as he looked at the members of the G clan. However, if something unexpected happens to the G clan, such as a plague causing the entire clan to perish our Snow Dragon Mountain, in order to maintain the stability of our territory, we'll naturally take over control of the city of 10,000 swords. Tell me, isn't this the logic? Hearing these words, the members of the G clan all gnashed their teeth in anger. Lawless, utterly unbridled, Snow Dragon Mountain was simply insolent to the extreme. The territory of the Grand Xia dynasty was simply too vast. Even though every single commandery city had Rain Dragon Guards stationed there, the Rain Dragon Guards were only able to maintain order around the commandery cities. They weren't able to manage the conflicts between the various smaller tribes. Even if Snow Dragon Mountain annihilated the G clan, as long as they claimed it was a natural disaster, they could easily cover it up. No one would investigate. I'll give you two options. Dong Ziki pointed at Nine Fire. The first option, if we annihilate your entire G clan, the Spirit Stone Mine will naturally belong to us. The second option is to hand over the Spirit Stone Mine, and your entire G clan will become a vassal of Snow Dragon Mountain. Two options. Choose for yourselves. These are two options. This is completely not giving our G clan any way to survive. Each one pulled out his long sword. This is the territory of our G clan. If you want to seize it, then seize it with your lives. Ha ha ha. Dong Ziki let out a wild laugh. Your territory? No. From today onwards, this is the territory of our Snow Dragon Mountain. All of you, just wait for your clan to be annihilated. A sinister, cold aura rose up, and in Dong Ziki's hands, a blood-colored 8 trigrams disc appeared. Behind him, the 4 Snow Dragon Mountain cultivators formed a formation, and a baleful aura filled the air. Excuse me. Right at this moment, a youth dressed in a black gold robe suddenly and noiselessly appeared. He looked at Dong Ziki with a smile on his face. Just now, you said that this is the territory of your Snow Dragon Mountain? Did you ask me? Brother Qi. Seeing Qi Hung suddenly appear, Ning was both surprised and worried. Brother Qi, Snow Dragon Mountain is powerful. This is a matter of our G clan. Why must you, You want to meddle in the affairs of Snow Dragon Mountain? Someone like you dares to meddle in the affairs of Snow Dragon Mountain? Seeing Qi Hung appear and hearing Ning greet him, Dong Ziki naturally believed that Qi Hung had only come to help out the G clan. Someone like you dares to make a ruckus in front of me? A cold light flashed through his eyes. Qi Hung let out a snort, then waved his hand and struck out viciously towards Dong Ziki and the others, who were still on the black cloth. Rumble. An enormous, hazy yellow palm appeared in midair. This enormous palm vaguely resembled a bear's paw, and it seemed to overturn the earth and collapse the skies. Bang! Dust flew everywhere, and shattered rocks flew everywhere. The arrogant Dong Ziki and the others didn't even have a chance to fight back. They didn't even have a chance to let out a miserable cry before they were smashed into smithereens by this palm. That powerful? The members of the G clan, seeing such power, were all stunned. Brother Qi's power has increased. Ning sighed in his heart. Chapter 11:14. Thank you for your help, young Master Qi. The members of the G clan all clasped their fists and bowed towards Qi Hung. Brother Qi, I'm really sorry that you got involved in our G clan's affairs. Ning walked forward and looked gratefully at Qi Hung. Brother Qi, this little brother cannot thank you enough for your great kindness. It's just that Snow Dragon Mountain is too powerful. Brother Chi, why don't you travel to Anton Commandery City first? No need. Chi Hung waved his hand. If it was Snow Dragon Mountain's headquarters with an essence soul venerable overseeing it, I wouldn't be able to deal with it. But what does a trifling Yin Mountain branch count for? As he spoke, Chi Hung turned his head to look at Ning. Ning, how about we join forces to wipe out the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain? What do you think? Brother Chi's heroic spirit is admirable. Ning couldn't help but sigh. Most likely, only someone like you, Brother Chi, wouldn't care about the Wanxiang adepts of the Swallow Mountain branch. After this, our G clan and Snow Dragon Mountain will be like fire and water. Naturally, destroying the Swallow Mountain branch would be for the best. However, I haven't reached the Zifu disciple level yet, so I can only use the Annihilation Sword a few times. He had a peerless sword art, but because he wasn't strong enough, he was only able to use it a few times. Ning felt rather resigned. Violet Palace Realm? You're now on the verge of a breakthrough. What you're lacking is spiritual energy. This isn't difficult. Chi Hung chuckled, then turned to look at the members of the G clan. Everyone, this spirit stone mine was originally the place where an immortal entered secluded meditation. Everyone, are you interested in going to the Immortals' Cave? Immortals' Cave? Immortals were an unreachable legend to the people of the G Mansion. Naturally, they were very interested in this Immortals' Cave. Then I'll have to trouble young Master Chi. It's fine. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, a yellow light flashed. Chi Hung activated the Earth Escape technique and led everyone underground into the cave abode in the Spirit Stone Vein. This is an Immortal's abode? In front of him was a simple, crude stone room. There were no immortal clouds swirling around it, nor was there any auspicious aura. This estate seemed inferior to even some of the estates of the G clan. This caused the hopeful members of the G clan to be greatly disappointed. This is just a temporary abode. The other things are fine, but this elemental liquid pond is still of some use. Chi Hung clapped his hands, extracting pure spirit energy from the surrounding spirit stone veins and gathering it into the pool. A moment later, dense spiritual chi appeared, and a pool of liquefied essence appeared in front of everyone. This is liquefied elemental essence? All of the G clansmen were stupefied. Who exactly was this young Master Chi? He could actually casually extract liquefied elemental essence? Go. Use the liquefied essence to increase your cultivation. When the time comes, we will annihilate Snow Dragon Mountain's Swallow Mountain branch together. Since he had set himself against Snow Dragon Mountain, Chi Hung naturally wouldn't let it go so easily. However, there were quite a few people in the Snow Dragon Mountain branch. If Chi Hung killed his way to their door alone, there would definitely be fish that escaped the net. It was quite appropriate for the G clan to act as a helper and deal with some small fries. Thank you, Brother Chi. Thank you, young Master Chi. The members of the G clan had never had the chance to use liquefied elemental essence to train before. They hurriedly sat down in the lotus position, seizing the opportunity to meditate and absorb the liquefied elemental essence. The spiritual chi was dense, and it faintly glowed with multicolored light. The members of the G clan surrounded the liquefied elemental essence pool and began to circulate their energy, constantly absorbing it. One whirlpool after another appeared, and pure spiritual chi was drawn into their bodies. Rumble. The spiritual chi was like the tide, roiling and rolling, an array of spiritual light shot into the skies. A watery light appeared above each one's head, like a vast, vast lake. The surface of the lake reflected the stars of the universe, as dazzling as the Milky Way. In this moment, the first to make a breakthrough was Ichuan. This raindrop sword, who had been heavily injured over 10 years ago and had fallen from the Zifu level, had been silent for over 10 years. After accumulating power for over 10 years, he had finally broken through to the Wanxiang level. And then, Ning broke through to the Xiantian level and reached the Zifu level. The G clan's patriarch, Nine Fire, also reached the Wanxiang level from the Zifu level. After the liquefied elemental essence pool was completely used up, the others all made great progress in their cultivation as well. They all advanced from the early Zifu level to the middle Zifu level. Ha ha! Our G clan's power has increased dramatically. 2 Wanxiang adepts. We aren't much weaker than the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain. Thank you, young Master Qi. Everyone was overjoyed, and they all thanked Qi Hung. Since our power has increased dramatically, we can wipe out the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain in one fell swoop. Ichuan hefted his sword, suddenly rising to his feet. We, in the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain, have long ago entered a state of mutual destruction. If we wipe out the Snow Dragon Mountain branch, we'll have a chance at survival. Otherwise, we'll just be sitting ducks. Everyone in the G clan understood this principle. Now that a spirit stone mine had appeared, Snow Dragon Mountain definitely wouldn't let go of this fat piece of meat. Although counterattacking was very dangerous, if they didn't counterattack, they would have to wait for their clan to be wiped out. Right. While the headquarters of Snow Dragon Mountain are still unaware, we should strike first. Otherwise, our G clan will be wiped out. Everyone came to a consensus. They all left the underground cavern, charging towards the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain. Zifu disciples were already capable of flight. Everyone present was at the Zifu disciple level. 2 Wanxiang adepts and 6 Zifu disciples flew through the air, charging towards the Snow Dragon Mountain branch. Northwest of the G clan, there was an enormous snowy mountain that was 1,000 kilometers in circumference. This was the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain. As the most powerful force in the Swallow Mountain region, the Snow Dragon Mountain branch had 4 Wanxiang adepts, dozens of Zifu disciples, and hundreds of Xiantian-level experts. With such a powerful force, they naturally didn't need to worry about anyone attacking the Snow Dragon Mountain branch. However, rumble, a heaven-shaking explosion. It was as though the entire snowy mountain was trembling. Under the stunned gazes of the Snow Dragon Mountain branch cultivators, their main gate, the gate that represented the majesty of Snow Dragon Mountain, had been blasted apart. Bastard, you are courting death. The Wanxiang adept in charge of the Snow Dragon Mountain branch was instantly enraged. With an explosive roar, for rays of light shot into the heavens. A Wanxiang adept's Zifu disciple reflected the stars of the universe, manifesting the starry skies. The 4 rays of light were like dazzling rivers of stars. Their auras were boundless, and an enormous pressure covered the heavens. G-Clan? How dare you guys? You dare to attack our Snow Dragon Mountain branch? Your G-Clan? Just wait to be wiped out. The Wanxiang adept of the Snow Dragon Mountain branch, Su Li, looked at the G-Clan in front of him. He let out an enraged roar, and an icy sword light shot out from his hands. Kill! Kill the entire G-Clan. Su Li waved his hand, and the other 3 Wanxiang adepts attacked simultaneously. Heavenly transformation. A pitch-black, muscular figure let out a loud roar, then transformed into a 300-meter-tall giant. Hefting an enormous staff, he charged towards the G-Clan. As for the other 2, one released ice, while the other released baleful darkness. When 4 Wanxiang adepts joined forces, their power was absolutely terrifying. Leave the fiend god body, refiner to me. Qi Hung charged forward, also using the divine ability of heavenly transformation, charging towards the giant. At the same time, Ichuan faced Su Li. Ninefire faced the Wanxiang adept who had released ice. Ning and the other Zifu disciples fought against the last one. The battle had officially begun. Chapter 11:15. So there are 2 all-creation realm cultivators. Su Li sneered when he saw the starlight on Ichuan and Ninefire's bodies. 2 all-creation realm cultivators want to attack my Snow Dragon Mountain branch? Truly reckless. Too much nonsense. Kill. Ichuan brandished his dripping sword. The sword light was like rain as it scattered down, clashing with Su Li. On the other side, Qi Hung was also facing off against the all-creation realm cultivator. Brat, you're merely at the Violet Palace realm. Even if you also have the divine power of lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, how many times can you block? The black giant raised a large club and smashed it down at Chi Heng's head with a furious roar. Or should I say, how many times can you block? When he was at the Khanate realm, Chi Heng had fought countless times against the all-creation realm god-fiends in the war god hall of the underwater estate. At that time, the outcome of the battle had been even. Now that Chi Heng had advanced to the Violet Palace realm, his strength had increased tremendously. When Yuan's palm, he struck out with his palm. The power of the earth surged and formed an enormous palm in the air. The enormous yellow palm faintly resembled a bear's paw. Boom! The earth quaked, and the mountains swayed when the palm struck out. It was as if the entire earth had crashed down from the sky. Crack! The Black Giant's club was the first to bear the brunt of the attack. After being struck by the Hunyuan's palm, it exploded into pieces. The enormous palm was unobstructed and continued to strike down at the Black Giant. Damn it! What divine power is this? The Black Giant roared, his entire body exploding with bright red light. Blood demon body, undying and indestructible. The blood fiend body. This was the fiend god body with the most powerful life force amongst the fiend god body refining techniques. The god fiend body refining techniques had strong life force to begin with. They could reattach their heads if they were chopped off, and they could regenerate even if their hearts were pierced. However, this blood demon body had stronger regenerative abilities than ordinary god fiend body refining techniques. It had already reached the level of rebirth from a single drop of blood. As long as a single drop of flesh didn't die, they could immediately recover. Undying and indestructible? Chi Heng sneered. Even the Supremes have to die. Even the Origin Emperor has to die. You think you're immortal? Hunyuan's great palm smashed down. Die. The huge palm landed heavily on the Black Giant's head, and then, without any resistance, it slammed into the snowy mountain below. Boom! Mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. The earth quaked and the mountains shook. It was truly a landslide. This palm strike caused the entire snowy mountain to shake violently. Snow and ice crumbled and rocks crumbled. Rumble! A huge avalanche appeared. All kinds of buildings on the snowy mountain collapsed in this avalanche. Countless low-level cultivators screamed as they were buried under the ice and snow. Only a few dozen Zifu disciples of Snow Dragon Mountain's branch were still able to fly into the skies, dodging this tribulation. As for that immortal and indestructible Black Giant, there was nothing left of it. J-Child is dead? How is that possible? The Great Protective Mountain Formation has collapsed. Damn it! Who was that person? How could a Zifu disciple be so powerful? The remaining 3 Wanxiang adepts, upon seeing this, felt shock in their hearts. Assemble the formation, Grand Snow Dragon Formation. Suli swung his sword to block each one's attack, then shouted loudly towards the dozens of Zifu disciples behind him. Yes, the Zifu disciples of Snow Dragon Mountain immediately fell into formation. Their spiritual energy linked together, and in the air above the formation, an enormous dragon formed from ice and snow appeared. Roar! The enormous frost dragon manifested, then smashed towards Chi Heng, emanating an icy aura that seemed capable of freezing everything. The Tao of Frost? This can be considered the Tao of Frost? Chi Heng let out a cold laugh. Fly die. Atar Kunyuan had seen the Grand Tao of Frost before. That was the Grand Tao of Frost of someone on the same level as him, Atar Cold Nether. This frost dragon in front of him wasn't even worthy of carrying his shoes. Boom! The Huanyuan's great palm struck out once more. With a sweep of his palm, the frost dragon exploded into pieces. The enormous palm continued to sweep out, and the dozens of Zifu disciples in formation instantly exploded, transforming into a bloody mist. Damn you! All of you deserve to die. The Wanxiang adepts battling against Ning's group sent out waves of icy cold baleful energy. They gritted their teeth as they stared at Ning's group. All of you ants deserve to die. Ants! Ning took a deep breath, then slowly raised the dark north swords in his hands. Then I'll let you see who the ants are. A five-colored light began to coalesce around the edge of the sword, and a five-colored line of light shot out from the tip of the sword. Annihilation sword. He chopped out with his sword, and the five-colored line of light sliced through the air. Annihilation, annihilation, annihilation. Wherever the five-colored line of light sliced through the air, the wind was annihilated, the elemental energy was annihilated, and all matter and energy was annihilated. Slash! With a soft sound, the roiling, baleful energy was annihilated. The five-colored line of light sliced through the Wanxiang adept's head, all the way to his feet. Annihilation, annihilation. His body, his soul, his magic treasures, everything was annihilated. This Wanxiang adept vanished into thin air, transforming into nothingness. It was as though he had evaporated into thin air, leaving nothing behind. Ah, junior apprentice brother gnome. Suli let out a loud cry, and his entire body exploded with starlight. A blood-colored star appeared above his head, and a baleful aura filled the skies. Seven slaughtering stars soared. A baleful aura filled the skies, and a blood-colored sword light soared into the skies. The destruction of the Snow Dragon Mountain branch was imminent. If he didn't go all out, he wouldn't even have a chance to. At a time like this, Suli naturally wouldn't hesitate. As long as he could force each one back, he would be able to find a chance to escape. As long as he returned to the headquarters and reported the situation, he would be able to get revenge. Clang! The seven slaughtering stars' sword chopped down heavily. Each one was an early Wanxiang adept, after all. How could he block Su Li's all-out attack? Instantly, he was knocked flying backwards by this sword. G-Clan, just wait for your clan to be annihilated. Our Snow Dragon Mountain will definitely take revenge. After forcing each one back, Suli left behind some vicious words, then transformed into a streak of light and fled. Seeing that Suli was about to flee, the Wanxiang adept battling Nine Fire naturally wasn't an idiot. If he didn't flee, would he be waiting for death? Blizzard Tempest. Countless icy blades swept out, smashing towards Nine Fire's head. And then, the Wanxiang adept also turned and fled. Damn, I can't let them escape. Once these two Wanxiang adepts escaped, the revenge of the headquarters of Snow Dragon Mountain would immediately arrive. No matter how powerful the G-Clan was, they wouldn't be able to withstand the primal adepts of Snow Dragon Mountain. Don't worry, they won't be able to escape. Qi Hung waved his hand, and extremely heavy pressure came crashing down. An unbearable weight. This was the weight of the earth itself. It was as though the entire earth was pressing down on their heads. The two Wanxiang adepts who had leapt into the air were like birds with broken wings, falling headfirst into the ground. Raindrop pierces stone. Each one exploded with all the power in his body. The true meaning of raindrop pierces stone coalesced within his sword light, and a drop of water shot out, instantly piercing through Su Li's forehead. Annihilation sword. Ning chopped out with his sword, and a five-colored thread slashed out. The other Wanxiang adept was instantly annihilated, dissipating like smoke. Victory! Thus, the Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain was officially destroyed. Chapter 11:16. Wow, we're rich. After defeating the enemy, it was time to collect the spoils of war. They found a storehouse of the Swallow Mountain branch and opened it. Countless spirit stones, countless pills, countless magic treasures, and countless martial arts manuals. It was a dazzling sight, as expected of the largest power in the Swallow Mountain region. In the past few years, the Swallow Mountain branch has plundered everywhere and taken all the spoils. It's normal for them to have so many treasures. Each one smiled as he looked at Qi Hung. Young Master Qi, it was all thanks to you that we were able to win this battle. How about we split the spoils in half? No need. Qi Hung glanced at the storehouse and waved his hand. How could Autarch Hunyuan be interested in such trash? Even if they sold them, how much money could they get? Given Qi Heng's abilities, he could casually refine some pills for more than this price. How can we do this? Seeing that Chi Hung didn't want the spoils, the Ji clan felt rather embarrassed. Aside from Ji Ning's display of power, Chi Hung had also played a decisive role in their victory. Chi Hung, not wanting the spoils, made the Ji clan feel rather ashamed. When each one had said that they would split the spoils equally, some of them were still somewhat unwilling. I have no use for these things. Chi Hung was about to refuse when he suddenly saw a black stone on the steps of the storehouse. He was instantly shocked. No way. This thing. He hurriedly walked forward and reached out with his hand, digging out this 5-foot-long black stone. He reached out to touch it and felt the aura within it, causing him to feel both surprise and joy. Xian Earth Gold? There's actually something like this here? Xian Earth Gold was an extremely precious treasure, even in the era of the Genesis continent. It was a precious treasure in the era of the continent of origin. In this era, perhaps only Chi Hung could recognize its value. It was normal for Snow Dragon Mountain to treat it as an ordinary stone. Chi Hung waved his hand and put away the black stone, then nodded towards the Ji clan. I'll take this material. This stone, what is it? The Ji clan looked at each other. Chi Hung had already said that he didn't want the spoils, but he suddenly took this stone. It had to be a treasure, but the Ji clan couldn't say anything. This is an earth-type refining material. You have no use for it, but it happens to be something I need to refine a magic weapon. Chi Hung was overjoyed that he unexpectedly obtained a priceless treasure, so he explained it to the Ji mansion with a smile. In fact, that was indeed the case. In this era, other than Chi Hung, there were probably not many people who knew about Fifth Earth mystical gold and could use it to refine weapons. However, the value of this item was billions of times more valuable than all the items in the entire Snow Dragon Mountain. With the Fifth Earth mystical gold, I will be able to forge a suitable weapon. Back then, Supreme Hunyuan's strongest magic treasure was an 8-edged, 9-jointed Earth Mystic Golden Whip. With a single lash of the whip, the sky collapsed and the earth caved in. Unfortunately, the 5th Earth Mystic Golden Whip had been shattered during the battle back then. Only a tiny bit of Supreme Hunyuan's true spirit was left in this reincarnation. With the 5th Earth Mystic Golden Whip reforged, I, Supremacy Hun Yuan, shall reign supreme once more. Next, everyone hurriedly put away their spoils of war and hurriedly fled the scene of the crime. The Swallow Mountain branch of Snow Dragon Mountain had been destroyed. Snow Dragon Mountain would definitely investigate. However, without any evidence, it wouldn't be so easy for Snow Dragon Mountain to find the Ji Mansion. Report the Spirit Stone Mine to the Grand Xia's Rain Dragon Guard. The Ji clan discussed for a while, then came to a decision. The spoils of war from the destruction of the Swallow Mountain branch were more than enough to fill the Ji clan's mouth with grease. If it didn't find a backer, once the headquarters of Snow Dragon Mountain came looking for them, the Ji clan would be wiped out. If they handed the Spirit Stone Mine to the Rain Dragon Guard, although the Ji clan would only be able to take 30% of it, they would receive the Rain Dragon Guard's protection. No matter how arrogant Snow Dragon Mountain was, they wouldn't dare to oppose the Rain Dragon Guard. After all, the Rain Dragon Guard represented the Grand Xia dynasty. The Ji Mansion was just about to head to Anton City to make the report when, unexpectedly, the Northmont clan of the Marquis of Anton came looking for them. The two clans came to an agreement. The Spirit Stone Mine would be handed over to the Marquis of Anton, and the Ji clan would take 30% of it. In return, the Ji clan would receive the protection of the Marquis of Anton. But of course, this had nothing to do with Chi Hung. First, I need to find a place to forge the 5th Earth Mystic Golden Whip. In order to forge such a precious treasure, he had to find a place where he wouldn't be disturbed by anyone. Chi Hang's target was the Serpent Wing Manor. Now that I've broken through to the Zifu level, I need to make a trip to the Aquatic Manor and complete a trial. Ning was heading to the Aquatic Manor as well, and the two were heading in the same direction. A streak of light howled through the air as the two hurried towards the Serpent Wing Manor. A short while later, the two arrived at Serpent Wing Lake. Using the talisman, they entered the Aquatic Manor. I'm just borrowing a place to forge. You can go about your business. Chi Hung found an empty room, then took out a piece of 5th Earth Mystic Gold. He sat down in the lotus position, activating the Hunyuan blood in his body as he struck out with a series of hand seals. Using the Hunyuan blood as a guide, fifth earth mystic gold smelt. Biting his tongue, he spat out a mouthful of heart blood, infused with the Hunyuan blood. A yellow light appeared in his hands, and he began to smelt the fifth earth mystic gold. This was the reason why no one else could use fifth earth mystic gold. During the era of the primordial lands, everything in the world, the seas, the skies, there was a single hegemon who wielded control over the Grand Tao. This was the Prime Emperor. Treasures of the primordial lands, such as fifth earth mystic gold, could not be used by anyone without the hegemon's permission. However, aside from the Prime Emperor, the 129 Omega autarchs could all be considered subordinates of the Prime Emperor. In the era in which the Prime Emperor had perished, the authority of the Lord of the Earth was more than enough. Rumble. An enormous explosion rang out from the fifth earth mystic gold, and a thick, heavy stream of arcane golden light began to swirl around it. Gwar! As the arcane golden light flashed, a yellow bear raised its head and roared towards the heavens. As though in response to the yellow bear's roar, in this instant, the entire primordial lands began to emit an enormous explosion. This is... Within the Sith universe, the Yin-Yang autarch, the old black yak, was training in the void form technique when he suddenly heard this enormous explosion. The resonance of the earth? Can it be that the bear is still alive? Damn it. As the only Omega autarch alive since the primordial lands and the ruler of the Sith universe, the old black yak had always believed himself to be the only autarch in the entire primordial lands. Now, an old friend had returned. A competitor had appeared. No, I have to void form as soon as possible. Otherwise, that bear will definitely compete with me. With the appearance of a competitor and a sense of urgency, the Yin-Yang autarch worked even harder in his cultivation of void form. Old Black Yak, I'll whip you to give you some pressure so that you can run faster. Liu nodded with a smile. Chi Hung did well. It wasn't in vain for this penniless Taoist to obtain a piece of fifth earth mystical gold for you. Chapter 11:17. Fifth Earth Mystic Gold Whip appear. Within the underwater estate, Chi Hung formed a series of seals with his hands. Amidst the mystic gold radiance, a 4-foot-long golden whip with 8 edges and 9 joints gradually appeared. The fifth Earth Mystic Gold Whip was a blunt whip, not a soft whip. It was 4 feet long and had 8 edges and 9 joints. It was thick and heavy. This was the heavenly Earth's authority, Autarch Hunyuan's treasure. It's a pity. I'll need countless years of refinement to reach the level of my past life. Right now, the Earth Mystic Golden Whip was an extremely powerful weapon in essence. However, it was only a supreme-grade Earth-rank treasure. Only through continuous refinement could it grow into the heavenly Earth's authority. With a wave of his hand, the fifth Earth Mystic Gold Whip landed in his hand. Under the circulation of his spiritual energy, the whip moved as he wished. Not bad. I finally have a suitable treasure. A growth-type treasure that was completely compatible with him would become stronger as his cultivation increased and the treasure was tempered. After refining the treasure, Chi Hung went to the underwater estate's War God Hall. Last time, I didn't have a weapon and fought an all-creation god fiend with a Khanate realm cultivator. Now that I've reached the Violet Palace realm and have a weapon, I wonder if I'll be able to defeat an essence soul god fiend. Stepping into the War God Hall, a huge plaza appeared in front of him. Kid, are you the one challenging me? A Violet Palace realm cultivator challenging an all-creation god fiend is an overmatch. How dare you challenge me, an essence soul god fiend? It was a 30-meter-tall essence soul god fiend covered in thick scales and had a pair of horns on its head. This was a true god fiend. The fiend god body tempering technique cultivators cultivated was an extension of the techniques of these fiend gods themselves. Compared to the god fiend body tempering technique cultivators cultivated, these god fiends were much stronger. You can still speak? A puppet with sentience? Interesting. Chi Hung nodded with a smile and raised the fifth Earth Mystic Gold Whip in his hand. Come, I admire your courage, but the sharp-horned god-fiend waved his hand and a huge axe appeared in his hand. Monstrous killing intent surged into the sky. I'll let you know that biting off more than you can chew comes with a price. Dying. Stepping out, the sharp-horned god-fiend swung his giant axe at Chi Heng's head. Swish! The whistling sound of the axe breaking through the air was so loud that it seemed as if it was going to shatter one's eardrums. As the axe chopped down, the sharp edge of the axe flashed with an ice-cold light. It overflowed with an ominous aura, filling the air with the smell of blood, boundless violence. Are you looking down on me? The sharp-horned god-fiend didn't use any divine powers or battle techniques. All he did was casually swing his axe. Chi Hung snorted and swung the Earth Mystic Gold Whip, smashing it down heavily. Boom! The whip and the axe collided, exploding with an earth-shattering noise. Your strength is not bad, and your weapon is not bad either. The sharp-horned god-fiend's eyes glinted. Not bad. That's right. You are worthy enough for me to use some of my real skills. Army-breaking, hundred-splitting axe. With a roar, the sharp-horned god-fiend stomped his foot and soared into the air. The battle axe in his hand exploded with a bloody light as he swung it down at Chi Heng's head. Now, this is something to watch. Chi Hung took a deep breath and raised the Earth Mystic Gold Whip in his hand. Hunyuan Mountain Driving Whip. With a swing of the whip, a thick yellow light flashed, and an extremely heavy force seemed to be pushing a mountain. Boom! Another earth-shattering boom rang out. A strong wind surged, shaking the entire square. Dong! Dong! The sharp-horned god-fiend was actually forced back 2 steps by this attack. You do have some skills. The sharp-horned god-fiend was extremely shocked that a mere Violet Palace Realm cultivator could perform so well in front of an Essence Soul Realm god-fiend. He was no ordinary Essence Soul Realm cultivator. He was a god-fiend. Compared to ordinary Essence Soul Realm cultivators, an Essence Soul Realm god-fiend's combat strength was even stronger. Kid, you're not bad. The sharp-horned god-fiend grinned. Now, I'm going to be serious. Let me show you my true strength. Lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. Black flame, sacred body. Pitch-black flames surged on the sharp-horned god-fiend's body. His entire body expanded by 1,000 feet and burned with scorching black flames. Demonic flames surged into the sky. The scorching and ferocious demonic flames seemed to even ignite the void. Heat waves rolled over, burning the surrounding ground into magma. The heat was unbearable. At that moment, Chi Hung felt as though all the water in his body was about to be roasted dry. Essence fire? This was a type of flame formed by an immortal soul stage cultivator who had condensed his own strength into one. It was extremely powerful. For cultivators below the Essence Soul realm, Essence fire could not be touched at all. They would die upon contact. You are finally serious? Chi Hung tightly gripped the 5th Earth Mystic Gold Whip as fighting spirit surged in his heart. This was a formidable opponent. Even if Chi Hung had the Earth Mystic Gold Whip and was the reincarnation of Prime Hunyuan, his current cultivation realm was still too low. It was already a battle of realms for a Violet Palace realm cultivator to defeat an all creations cultivator. But now he was challenging an Essence Soul realm cultivator. That was a battle of 2 major realms. I was just about to see my limits. In that case, I'll give it my all. With a roar, Chi Hung also used the lawful embodiment of heaven and earth and transformed into 1,000 feet tall giant. Body of earth. A layer of yellow light flashed across his body, protecting him. It was inevitable that he would be burned by the essence fire if he wanted to fight against the sharp-horned godfiend that had activated its essence fire. Chi Heng's current body had yet to attain the true body of earth, and could only use divine powers to defend against the essence fire. Come on, let's fight. With a roar, Chi Hung raised the Earth Mystic Gold Whip and slammed it against the sharp-horned godfiend. Boom, boom, boom. Heavy footsteps sounded like an earthquake. The 1,000 feet tall body that shone with yellow light was like a massive mountain. Hunyuan, earth overturning whip. The whip seemed to have overturned the entire ground. Crushing, suppression, a massive force surged up, extremely heavy and unstoppable. Come on! The sharp-horned god-fiend roared as the giant axe in his hand burst forth with black flames that filled the sky. The devilish flames were monstrous and boundless. Black flame blood axe. The axe slashed down heavily. Boom, boom, boom. The steel whip that was as heavy as the earth and the giant axe that was covered in black flames collided again and again. It was as if two enormous beasts were fighting fiercely, causing the entire plaza to shake violently. That kid's actually this strong? In the underwater residence, the huge bear and black yak were gathered together again. A violet palace realm cultivator against a nascent soul cultivator, and a peak nascent soul cultivator at that. That kid's that strong? The black yak shook his head in shock. Legend has it that only chaos god fiends born from the chaos have such great potential. This kid uses the power of the earth. Could he be a descendant of ancestor god Hotu? The huge bear's mouth was wide open in shock. What was even more shocking was Hunyuan's sky-flipping whip. It was as if heaven and earth had been overturned. The whip lashed out, and the blazing god-devil black flame was instantly smashed to pieces. The huge bear and black yak looked at each other, dumbfounded. He was definitely a descendant of an ancestor god. Chapter 11:18. Phew! Dispelling his divine ability, Chi Hung half-knelt on the ground, clutching his earth mystic gold whip. In this battle, he had already unleashed his most powerful attack. He had even used the heaven-flipping whip of Hunyuan, which he still wasn't familiar with. Although he had defeated Fiend God Black Flame, Chi Hung had used up all of his energy and didn't even have the energy to stand up. Wonderful, truly wonderful. This battle is already my limit. Through this battle, Chi Hung knew exactly what his limit was. If he used all of his strength, he would be able to defeat a primal adept. But the result was that after this battle, he wouldn't even have the energy to move. This sort of situation was extremely dangerous. In the outside world, if he used up all of his energy, even an ordinary person would be able to kill Chi Hung with a single blow. For safety reasons, at most I can only fight against Wanxiang adepts. Fighting against primal adepts is simply too dangerous. Even if I can win, I'll be putting myself in an extremely dangerous situation. On the path of cultivation, who was the most powerful person? It wasn't the most powerful person, nor was it the most powerful person. It was the person who lived the longest. No matter how powerful an expert was, after dying, they would be nothing. After catching his breath, Chi Hung put away his earth mystic gold whip, then sat down in the lotus position, meditating and recovering his energy. Only after 6 full hours did Chi Hung recover his energy. Time to leave. Stepping out of the War God Hall, Chi Hung saw that Ning was still meditating on the Tao within the Stellar Hall. He didn't disturb him, instead turning and leaving the estate. To enter the estate, he needed Ning's permission. To leave, however, was very simple. Next, I need to go to an even vaster world. Stepping out of the underwater estate, Chi Hung stared towards the horizon. In this world, the most powerful power is naturally the Grand Xia dynasty. In the nearby region, the most powerful is Anton Commandery City. Time to go take a look. Chi Hang's figure shot through the air and hurried in the direction of Anton Commandery City. Anton Commandery City was nearly 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Ji clan's territory. Even if he flew, he would still need quite a bit of time. This divine ability of mine, the magma evasion light, is far faster than most flying techniques. Unfortunately, my level of insight isn't high enough. Otherwise, I'd be able to cross this distance in a single step. Activating the magnetic force of the Earth, Chi Hung whistled through the air at an extremely fast speed. Chi Hung even overtook a flying boat that was also flying in the direction of Anton Commandery City. And then, overtaking was even more troublesome. On this golden, swift vessel, a young man raised his head in astonishment, and he looked at Chi Heng's figure that flashed out with a face full of shock. A Violet Palace Realm cultivator is actually so swift? If he doesn't have a great treasure on him, then he must have a peerless flying ability. Uncle Go. The young man turned his head and looked at an old man beside him. Bring that young man here. Such an arrogant and matter-of-fact attitude showed that this young man's identity was not ordinary. In his eyes, Chi Hung was only a slightly special Violet Palace Realm cultivator, and he could casually deal with Chi Hung. Yes, the green-robed old man bowed and stepped out of the flying boat in an instant. A streak of light tore through the air as the azure-robed elder rapidly chased after Chi Hung. Unfortunately, his flight light was much slower than Chi Heng's, and he couldn't catch up to him even after chasing for a while. Young man, stop right there. The azure-robed elder was enraged and flew at high speed as he shouted at Chi Hung. You're crazy. Chi Hung pursed his lips in disdain and ignored him completely, even though they didn't know each other, and he still flew on. Bastard! Seeing that Chi Hung was completely ignoring him, the azure-robed elder was unable to restrain his anger. He waved his hand, and a golden streak of light tore through the air and smashed toward Chi Hung. Clang! The golden streak of light tore through the air and transformed into a golden bell. A bell chime sounded, and a mighty sound wave swept out. Amidst this mighty bell chime, there was a power that could shake one's soul. As the sound wave swept out, it shook one's heart and soul. Clang! When the bell chime entered his ears, the soul-shaking power instantly charged into Chi Heng's sea of consciousness. Roar! In his sea of consciousness, the enormous yellow bear roared at the sky, and its soul, which was as thick as the earth, directly crushed this soul-shaking sound wave. Caught off guard, Chi Hung was actually attacked by a soul-shaking art. If not for his powerful soul, he would have suffered greatly from this attack. You're courting death. The fury in Chi Heng's heart surged. He stopped and turned around, staring coldly at the azure-robed elder as the thick power of the earth churned and condensed in his body. Young man, my young master wants to see you. See your grandmother. With a furious roar, the earth-mystic gold whip appeared in his hand, and the thick and heavy power of the earth suddenly erupted. Die! With a swing of the whip, heaven and earth trembled. With an enormous rumble, this Wanxiang-level green-robed elder didn't even have the chance to finish speaking before he was blown apart by Chi Heng's attack. Bastard! You dare to kill my servant? The young master, who was originally waiting calmly in the flying boat for Chi Hung to respectfully come to greet him, suddenly saw the young cultivator in the mystic gold robe suddenly attack and blow up the azure-robed elder with one blow. This shocked and enraged the young man. Stepping onto the deck of the flying boat, the young man pointed at Chi Hung and cursed loudly. Bastard! I'm Meng Li from the Anton Meng clan. I'm best friends with the Northern Mountain Marquis Estates, Northern Mountain Fox Heir. Noisy. Without waiting for this young Master Meng to finish reporting his background, a cold light flashed in Chi Heng's eyes, and he swung the earth mystic gold whip again. Boom! With one blow, both the person and the flying boat were pulverized. There's still something that didn't break? What surprised Chi Hung was that after being struck by the earth mystic gold whip, there was still one thing that didn't break. It was a purplish-black wooden tablet. What's this? With a wave of his hand, the purplish-black wooden tablet fell into Chi Heng's hand. Looking at it in his hand, he saw that the purplish-black wooden tablet was inscribed with extremely complicated runes and was extremely sturdy. More importantly, the 3 simple golden words 50 kilograms were written on the tablet. 50 kilograms? What does this mean? Looking at the wooden tablet over and over for a while, Chi Hung discovered that the countless runes inscribed on it were extremely complicated and could be described in any way. However, these runes only had the function of sturdiness. In order to make a wooden tablet sturdiness, countless extremely complicated runes were inscribed. It seems like the most complicated runes were specially chosen to be inscribed. When the world is this, especially that 50 kilograms, it was simply inexplicable. I'll keep it first and see what it's for in the future. Putting away the wooden tablet, Chi Hung turned and flew toward Anton Commandery City. However, he was even more careful when flying. The incident just now also reminded Chi Hung. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, the slightest bit of carelessness could not be tolerated. Others didn't need a reason to attack you. Chapter 11:19. Chi Hung has already arrived at Anton Commandery City. Li Yu, seated in the lotus position in the air, raised his head to glance at the primordial universe, then smiled and nodded. Anton Commandery City, compared to the entire Grand Xia dynasty, is just a small place. The entire Grand Xia, compared to the Three Realms, is just a small place. The Three Realms, compared to the entire primordial universe, is just a small place. Liu shook his head. However, the Three Realms is about to descend into chaos. It's time for me to begin my work. The Three Realms was a fusion of the Pangu origin world and the seamless world. During the primordial era, the two major worlds had fused together, and the major powers on both sides had fought over control of the world. A great war had broken apart the heavens and the earth, resulting in the creation of the Three Realms, the countless worlds that existed today. The Pangu origin world had won, and the major powers of the seamless world had surrendered. The Three Realms had been at peace for countless years. And then, countless years passed. The major powers of the Pangu origin world and the seamless world began yet another great war. However, this war was being manipulated. Liu raised his head to look at the Netherworld Kingdom of the Three Realms. The Netherworld Kingdom had already been destroyed. The six paths of reincarnation had been shattered, and the Netherworld Kingdom no longer existed. The forces of the seamless world attacked the Netherworld Kingdom first. Was this a test? A test to see how Nuwa would react? The Netherworld Kingdom of the Three Realms, as well as the Book of Life and Death Judge Chui, was a magic treasure forged by Nuwa. By attacking the Netherworld Kingdom and the Book of Life and Death, one would be able to ascertain Nuwa's movements. After the Primordial War, Nuwa had become a world god and left the Three Realms. Nuwa hadn't appeared after attacking the Netherworld Kingdom and the Book of Life and Death. This meant that she wouldn't be returning anytime soon. It has been more than 10 years since the Netherworld Kingdom was destroyed. The Seamless World is about to make their move. This was a storm that would sweep across the Three Realms. Alas, this storm was nothing more than a scheme. There were two masterminds behind the scenes. The Lord of the Seamless World, the Lord of the Demon Heart, was shattered by Nuwa. For the sake of preserving his life, he underwent the Tao Merge. He fused himself into the Grand Daos of the Three Realms and occupied the Grand Daos of the Demon Heart. When Liu saw the mental demon Great Tao of the Three Realms, he shook his head with a smile. You think it a mastermind behind the scenes? You used the mental demon Tao to instigate a war between the Three Realms and wait for an opportunity to escape the Tao integration state. Actually, you're just a chess piece. The true mastermind was a fellow known as Old Man Yuan. This Old Man Yuan came from a vast universe outside of the Three Realms, a realm formed from countless major worlds. In this place, known as the Badlands Territory, the Mind Lord under the command of World God Emperor Black Lotus had sent out a strand of his soul to possess Old Man Yuan and cause chaos. Actually, I don't care if you guys fight to the death. Liu chuckled. However, Old Man Yuan, I am rather interested in researching your heart force as well. Then, let's play a game of being the mastermind behind the scenes with I. In Liu's opinion, heart energy should be something similar to faith and willpower. Aside from being able to increase the power of various techniques, it could also control the souls of others. Humans have three treasures: essence, energy, and spirit. This so-called heart force definitely has something to do with the soul. It should be a way to apply the power of the soul. Liu's path of cultivation had always been one of learning from others and learning from others. Thus, Li wanted to research Old Man Yuan's heart force as well. You are the mastermind behind the scenes. I am the mastermind behind the scenes as well. Let's play a game together. Liu smiled as he rose to his feet, then strode into the three realms. There are still a few familiar faces in the three realms. It's about time I go greet them. His body transformed into nothingness as he soundlessly entered the three realms. Liu's eyes lit up when he saw the bright moon hanging high in the sky above the three realms. Chang'e is on the moon. I've transmigrated through so many worlds, but I've never seen her before. He took a single step forward, instantly arriving above the moon. Toad Palace Osmanthus. There really is an osmanthus tree on the moon. In front of him was a cold, pristine land. The cold energy of the great Een roiled about, forming layers of cloud-like light. Within the cloud-like light, an enormous osmanthus tree stood tall, piercing straight into the clouds. Its enormous branches were like intertwined dragons. Right now, the osmanthus flowers were in full bloom, filling the air with a sweet fragrance. Beneath the osmanthus tree, there was a palace that seemed to be made of ice. This was the Moonlight Palace. Within the Moonlight Palace, a man and a woman were seated next to each other within a pavilion within a garden. The man was valiant and majestic, while the woman was petite and adorable. This was Ho, Yi, and Chang. The two of you, in many stories, the two of you are tragic. In this world, in the end, you'll still end up as a tragedy. Upon seeing Ho, Yi, and Chang, Liu sighed and shook his head. In the future, during the Great War of the Three Realms, Ho Yi's divine archery would be an awe-inspiring figure. However, Chang'e had run off with someone else. Chang'e, whose mind had been controlled by Old Man Yuan long ago, had become Old Man Yuan's slave. The heart force which Old Man Yuan left behind to control the mind has already completely invaded Chang'e's mind. Li raised his head to look at Chang. He could clearly see that Chang'e's soul had already been soundlessly infiltrated by a black aura. Her pure mind had long ago been corroded by the black aura. It just hadn't acted up yet. This sort of complete corrosion is going to be quite troublesome to clean up. Upon seeing the state of Chang'e's soul, Liu shook his head. But of course, given Liu's abilities, it was actually quite simple for him to clean up this sort of soul corrosion. He could do it with a wave of his hand. However, if he wanted to continue playing this game, he naturally couldn't alarm Old Man Yuan. That's why I'll have to do something. He waved his hand, causing an invisible ripple of power to sweep out. Time came to a halt. Space froze. Karma was no longer visible. Fate ceased to exist. In this moment, no one in the entire Great Cold Palace was aware of what was happening. It was as though someone had pressed the pause button. The entire Great Cold Palace had entered a state where time had come to a standstill. Liu walked over to Chang'e, then tapped out with his finger. A speck of light flashed past, and all of the black aura within Chang'e's soul was instantly stripped away, freeing her from Old Man Yuan's control. We're going to continue playing this game. That's why I'm going to create an illusion for you. Liu reached out with his hand, and all of the black aura within Chang'e's soul was sucked out by him. A speck of illusory light flowed through his palm, enveloping the black aura within it. The illusory power of the Grand Tao of the Void enveloped the black aura, creating an illusion. Old Man Yuan could sense that Chang'e was still under his control, and that nothing was out of the ordinary. Old Man Yuan is using this black aura to control Chang'e. This is the power of the heart. I can study it. Liu glanced at the stone table in front of him. When he saw the jug of wine placed atop it, he chuckled. Everyone says that the osmanthus wine of the Lunar Palace is quite good. I want to take some back and try it. After putting away the jug of wine and breaking off a branch of osmanthus, Liu finally released the seal on the table and floated away. Just now, did something happen? After everything returned to normal, Chang'e felt as though something was different about her, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. Silly girl, what could possibly have happened? Where's my wine? He was in the middle of laughing when he suddenly realized that the jug of wine on the table had disappeared. He instantly turned pale with fright. Look, The osmanthus flowers on the ground have formed a line of words. Chani pointed at the ground in front of her as she cried out in shock. He rose to his feet, only to see that the osmanthus flower petals on the ground had formed a line of words. Osmanthus wine. I have long heard of it. I had nothing better to do, so I decided to borrow a jug of wine. I hope that you won't mind. Ho Yi's face was filled with shock. Someone had actually been able to silently take away a jug of wine. Even someone as powerful as Ho Yi hadn't noticed. Just how powerful was this person? Chapter 11:20. So the so-called heart force is nothing more than will, spirit, willpower, faith, and so on and so forth. These things were essentially a part of the strength of the soul. After scanning and analyzing the energy which Old Man Yuan had left within Chang Yi's soul, Li Yu now understood the essence of heart force. Soul enslavement and will control. There is indeed something to it. At Li Yu's level, he was able to see through the essence of heart force at a glance, making it much easier for him to control it. Enslavement and control are both things that I've played around with. When he had first established himself, Li Yu had been quite adept at using the loyalty seal. Old Man Yuan's heart force, as far as Li Yu was concerned, wasn't much at all. Gong and Fuxi are under Old Man Yuan's control as well. I need to go deal with them. Gong and Fuxi were both elder gods, and they were at a higher level of insight than Tao Father's gold immortals. Alas, Fuxi had been reincarnated for the sake of breaking through and comprehending the Tao of Yin and Yang. He had yet to recover his memories from his previous life. Li Yu turned his head to stare into the air, immediately finding Fuxi's location. This was an ordinary piece of land. Beneath a small mountain, there was a crude farmhouse. In the vegetable fields outside the cottage, an old farmer was working with a hoe. You're not Shinnong. Why are you playing farming games? Li Yu shook his head, speechless. He took a single step forward, instantly arriving at Fuxi's cottage. Sir, I was just passing by. Would you mind if I asked for a cup of water? Standing by the vegetable field, Li Yu greeted Fuxi with a smile. Upon hearing this voice, Fuxi's entire body trembled, and a sharp light exploded out of his eyes. Slowly turning around, Fuxi saw a white-robed youth standing outside the fences of the vegetable fields. He was actually able to silently walk up to me, and I didn't even notice him until he spoke. This person, what level of insight was he at? What sort of person was he? You're a guest from afar. Just a cup of tea. I hope you don't mind. Fuxi smiled and nodded. Like an ordinary old farmer, he pushed open the garden door and slowly walked out of the vegetable field with his back hunched. Sir, please have some tea. At the entrance of the vegetable garden, Fuxi picked up the teapot from the wooden table, poured a cup of tea, and handed it to Li Yu with trembling hands. Good tea. Picking up the teacup, he saw that the tea in the cup was like a raging tide, as if it was not a cup of tea, but a vast ocean. What a pity, Li Yu smiled and said. If I really drank it in one gulp, I'm afraid I would have drunk all 4 seas dry. Return to where you came from. With a flick of his finger, Li Yu cut off the connection between the water in the cup and the origin of water in this world. Then, with a smile on his face, he picked up the teacup and drank it all. He's actually this powerful? Fuxi's pupils constricted when he saw that his spell had been broken in the blink of an eye. His stooped body slowly straightened, and his aged face was filled with determination. No matter how strong you are, what do I have to fear? Even in the most difficult times, we, the humankind, have never been our backs. It really is good tea. Li Yu did not seem to notice the mighty aura emanating from Fuxi's body as he continued to smile. After drinking a cup of tea, you should also drink I's cup of tea. How about it? Please enlighten me. His aged body instantly became strong. His thick chest was as wide as the earth, and his straight back was as imposing as a mountain. At that moment, Fuxi no longer looked like an old farmer. He had regained the true appearance of an ancient human emperor. From Fuxi's point of view, Li Yu definitely did not come with good intentions. For existences at the pinnacle of the 3 realms like Fuxi, they naturally knew that the world was extremely vast and that there were other worlds outside of the 3 realms. Liu was a powerful existence that had never appeared in the three realms, so he had to be a mighty figure from another world. The arrival of such a mighty figure from another world would only bring endless war to the three realms, just like Rahu from the ancient era. Since he had come knocking on their door, then there was only one battle. Ice-T is different from yours. With a flick of his sleeve, a ray of light lingered in the air, and a white jade teacup was created out of thin air. Then a seed floated in the air, took root, sprouted, and grew leaves. In a short while, it grew into a tea tree. The green tea tree looked like it was carved out of jade, and 108 light golden tea leaves hung from the tree. They looked like cauldrons, bells, swords, pagodas. They all had different shapes. What was even more shocking was that the tea leaves faintly emitted a profound Tao aura. This tea, Fushi was shocked when he saw the tea leaves. It was one thing to create something out of thin air, but to create such a profound, connate spiritual item? If there's tea, there naturally needs to be water. With a flick of his finger, a sparkling liquid with endless vitality fell into the white jade teacup. Heat surged, and the water in the teacup instantly boiled. Fall! With a soft shout, 108 light golden tea leaves fell into the teacup. A misty, immortal light circulated in the teacup, and a faint, immortal melody could be heard. The immortal melody was faint, and the great Tao resonated. It was as if all the great Taos in the world were in one cup. Please. Liu picked up the teacup and handed it to Fushi with a smile. Such an immortal tea, fellow Taoist. Your skills are unfathomable. I'm impressed. How could Fushi lose his composure at a time like this? Since it was a competition, he had to drink it even if it was poisonous. He received the teacup and drank it in one gulp. Then, boom, a deafening explosion took place in Fushi's mind, and rare phenomena filled the sky. Qian, Yuan, Heng Li Zhen. Ninth day, hidden dragon, don't use. The voice of the great Tao echoed in Fushi's mind, and a profound scripture was deeply imprinted in his mind. At the same time, the 8 trigrams of heaven, earth, wind, thunder, water, volcano, and swamp appeared and intertwined, forming 64 trigrams. The Book of Changes? Fushi was dumbfounded when he saw the profound scripture in his mind that described the truth of heaven and earth. Fushi vaguely felt that the Book of Changes was very compatible with his path, as if it was the path he should have taken. Not life and destruction, not the great Yin and great Yang. Fushi's path should be the connate 8 trigrams. Connate Tai, the Tao of destiny? Fushi snapped out of his daze and was about to ask Liu when he realized that the white-robed figure had already drifted away. Senior, please bestow me your name. Fushi bowed to Liu's back. At the beginning of chaos, Yin and Yang appeared, and heaven and earth were born together. The long song was faint, and the white-robed figure disappeared without a trace, as if he had never been there. Chaos? Yin and Yang? Heaven and earth? Fushi was confused. He couldn't figure out what this poetic announcement meant. The great Tao of Tai is indeed the great Tao of heaven. Taking a deep breath, Fushi recalled the Book of Changes in his mind, and a smile appeared on his face. His eyes were blurred, as if he had seen through everything in the world. Everything is fate. This Book of Changes seemed to be tailor-made for Fushi. In just a short moment, Fushi had completely understood it. The threads of fate appear before him, and then Fushi's face turned pale. The future is so cruel. I have become someone else's pawn, manipulated and caused endless sin. Fushi was sweating profusely. I see fate. What should I do? Heart-cleansing mantra? In his anxiety, Fushi suddenly saw the tea on the wooden table condense into a mantra that cleansed the soul and purged evil. This senior is here to save me. At this moment, Fushi's heart was filled with gratitude. He bowed in the direction Liu left in. Chapter 1121. The calamity of the three realms is actually being manipulated by a mastermind. Fushi sat cross-legged on the ground, constantly divining the future according to the Tao of Kane Tai. However, the mastermind's figure remained hazy and indistinct, unable to be seen clearly at all. The calamity of the three realms is imminent. Many of my fellow Taoists are like me, manipulated by the mastermind. I have to save them and prepare for the calamity. When his thoughts reached this point, Fushi hurriedly rose to his feet, transforming into a streak of light that whistled through the skies. Fushi didn't dare trust anyone without being able to see who the mastermind was. However, in the future he saw, those who were also being manipulated could definitely be trusted. Elder God Gongong, Fushi has come to pay you a visit. The first person Fushi sought out was one of the few remaining elder gods of the three realms, Gongong. Your Majesty Fushi, Gongong, is but a sinner. How is he worthy of your visit? In the void, within a ball of vast and mighty watery light, a stooped and destitute figure slowly stood up, exuding a deathly aura. Your Majesty, please enter. The watery light flowed, and a long bridge formed from a curtain of water extended over, stopping beneath Fushi's feet. Excuse me. Fushi clasped his hands and bowed, then stepped onto the water bridge and entered the vast world of water. Elder God Gongong, please seal off the water world and prevent anyone from probing. Fushi has something to discuss with you. After entering the water world, Fushi clasped his hands towards Gongong and stated his intentions. Oh, when he saw how solemn Fushi was, a hint of surprise appeared on Gongong's deathly still face. He hurriedly waved his hand, causing a vast wave of water to completely seal off the water world. Kane Tai, conceal the workings of the heavens. The image of the 8 trigrams appeared above Fushi's head, and an invisible force of destiny spread out, completely concealing the workings of the heavens. Holy Emperor Fushi, didn't you prove the Tao of Yin and Yang? This power, it's no longer the Tao of Yin and Yang. Gongong's face was filled with surprise when he saw Fushi cast his spell. If you weren't Fushi, I wouldn't have been able to recognize you. Elder God Gongong, Fushi will explain this matter to you shortly. As he spoke, Fushi handed over a jade slip. Elder God Gongong, please use this incantation to cultivate. What the hell are you doing? Gongong took over the jade slip confusedly. Mind-calming spell? A spell to cleanse one's soul and eliminate evil? Reading the spell, Gongong was still confused. However, the mind-cleansing spell was also very valuable to him. Back then, Gongong had angered Mount Buzhou and caused a great disaster. His brothers and sisters, Zhurong, Hutu, Rushu, and Gomong, had all died because of this. Gongong, who had been feeling guilty for countless years, admitted that he was guilty and imprisoned himself in the water world for billions of years. Fushi meant well. Forget it, I'll just practice this clear heart incantation. Sighing deeply in his head, Gongong cleansed his soul according to the heart-calming spell. This is... After casting the spell, Gongong shockingly found that a purely dark layer of evil power had been cleansed from his soul. At this moment, the black smoke was enveloped by the power of the mind-clearing spell and was heavily suppressed in the sea of consciousness. Ancestor God Gongong, have you noticed it too? The black smoke that's corroding your soul. Seeing Gongong's expression, Fushi, who had experienced this himself, naturally knew that Gongong had used the heart-calming spell to cleanse the black smoke from his soul. Gongong raised his head in shock. You know this thing? You know about this black smoke? What is it? Who's trying to harm me? I know. That's because there's a similar black chi in my divine soul. Fushi looked at Gongong with a solemn expression. Ancestor God Gongong, I've been blessed by an expert and have comprehended the Kane Tai Tao, which is the 8 trigrams technique I just cast. Tai controls fate, and I've seen the future. With a wave of his hand, a scene of the future appeared. On the screen, Fushi activated a great formation and used the power of Tianshui fire to attack his friends behind him. Gongong was also in this scene. In the scene, Gongong had actually pierced Shinong's chest with his palm. This is the future? Gong Gong's face was filled with shock. Elder God Gong Gong was naturally no fool. This completely unimaginable scene had to have something to do with the black smoke in his mind. The black smoke had corroded his soul, and in the future, he had become a puppet in someone else's hands. I've divined countless times. That's the destined future. The only way to survive is to use the heart-calming spell. This is also a spell that the expert bestowed upon me. Fushi's face was solemn. Elder God Gong Gong, I can't divine who's behind this. I can't trust anyone else. Fortunately, I've seen some people who've also been controlled by the black smoke. Speaking to this point, Fushi looked solemnly at Gong Gong. The three realms are about to face a calamity. We have to work together. No matter who the mastermind is, if we work together, we'll have enough power to deal with them. There are others who've been corroded by the black smoke. Gong Gong took a deep breath, then nodded solemnly. It seems the mastermind is planning something big, but he raised his head to look at Fushi, his face filled with confusion. The Kanate Tai Dao and the heart-calming spell were both bestowed by an expert. That expert, who exactly is he? To be able to see through a scheme like this, and even bestow a solution to it, and casually give out the great Tao of Kanate Tai, this expert was truly very, very powerful. I don't know where that expert came from either. Fushi sighed, then shook his head and asked Gong Gong. That expert didn't tell us his name. Instead, he recited a poem. At the beginning of the primordial chaos, yin and yang appeared, and heaven and earth, black and yellow, were born together. Elder God Gong Gong, you were born from the primordial chaos. Have you ever heard of this person's background? Primordial chaos, yin and yang, black and yellow. Gong Gong thought for a while, then shook his head in confusion. I've never heard of this person either. However, since the poem contained the words primordial chaos, yin and yang, and black and yellow, I imagine that this person's cultivation must be extremely terrifying. Truly unfathomable. Fushi nodded. That expert's level of cultivation is already unimaginable. When I met him, I almost couldn't summon up the courage to resist. Fortunately, this expert doesn't seem to have any ill intentions. According to my estimations, this expert should be from outside the realms, and not on the same side as the mastermind. By doing this, he's clearly ruining the mastermind's plan. Speaking of this, Fushi's expression turned grave. If the mastermind is on the same level as this expert, then we're in an extremely dangerous situation. No matter how dangerous it is, it's still better than becoming someone's puppet. Gong Gong suddenly stood up. Since we've already broken free of our shackles and escaped control, we're no longer pawns to be manipulated by others. He reached out, and a pitch-black halberd fell into his hand. His entire body erupted with a monstrous battle intent. When have I, Gong Gong, ever feared anyone? Good. Let's have a good fight with that mastermind. Fushi clenched his fists as well. This scene fell into Liu's eyes. That's right. I have also placed my pawns in the three realms calamity. We can slowly play a game now. School was about to start, and there were many things to prepare for. The author was already too busy. The 5 watch periods that had lasted for an entire summer break had to come to an end for now. Please forgive me. Chapter 1122. In the destiny I saw, Chang'e is also being controlled. After leaving the Gonggong water realm, Fushi turned and rushed to the Moon Palace to look for his descendants and Chang'e. He loved Chang'e deeply, so he naturally wouldn't kill her. Therefore, He and his wife were also trustworthy. No black energy? The clear heart spell didn't wash the black energy out of your soul? When Fushi gave the clear heart incantation to Chang'e and had her use it to cleanse her soul, he was shocked to find that Chang'e's soul didn't have any black chi. Fushi's face was full of shock, and he was dumbfounded. In the destiny he saw, Chang'e was clearly being controlled by the mastermind, and He was so sad that he felt like dying. Why did the clear heart spell not wash the black energy out of Chang'e's soul? Your Majesty, Fushi said that you were being controlled by someone. It must be true. He and Chang'e looked at each other, fear lingering in their hearts. The consequences of being controlled and reduced to a puppet were simply unimaginable. Ian Chong. It didn't doubt Fushi's character at all. This holy emperor of the human race with boundless merit was no ordinary upright character. I'm ashamed. I'm afraid there really was a mistake. I've only just comprehended the Tao of innate Tai, so I might have been mistaken. Fushi shook his head, feeling that there really was a possibility that he had been mistaken. No, the holy emperor wasn't mistaken. He smiled, then turned to look at Chong. Do you remember the osmanthus wine that was borrowed? Do you remember the words left on the ground? I'm afraid we've met an expert. That must be it. Chong smiled happily. It seems that the expert said that he borrowed a jug of wine, but in fact, he already paid for it. Expert? Fushi was stunned, then recalled the white-clothed figure that suddenly appeared in front of him. He was shocked. You met that Taoist master Xianwang as well? Apart from that Taoist master Xianwang, Fushi couldn't think of anyone else who could remove the soul control so easily. Taoist master Xianwang? So that expert's name is Taoist master Xianwang? He shook his head with a smile. Actually, we, husband and wife, have never met this Taoist skull yellow. If Taoist profound yellow hadn't taken a pot of wine and left behind a line of words, we wouldn't have known that someone had been here. Even with your strength, you can't sense that someone is coming? It must be Reverend Profound Yellow. Fushi nodded and said, to tell you the truth, Taoist Dark Yellow was the one who gave me this innate Tai Tao and heart-cleansing mantra. When Reverend Profound Yellow arrived, if he hadn't talked to me, I wouldn't have noticed him. Even His Majesty Fushi didn't notice? Hoyi's face was full of shock. It seems that this black-yellow spiritual master's strength is already unimaginably high. With the assistance of Reverend Skyearth Yellow, the future upheaval of the three realms might not be impossible. Thus, with Fushi, Gong Gong, and Ho-E taking the lead, the group began to rescue the powerful beings that Fushi saw being controlled by fate. An organization dedicated to quelling the calamity of the three realms was silently born. Excellent. Let's dupe Fushi and have him take the initiative. This will save us a lot of trouble compared to having I go looking for them one by one. Liu smiled and nodded when he saw this. The upheaval of the three realms was caused by Lord Demon Heart breaking out of his Tao-merged state. However, Old Man Yuan took advantage of him. Lord Demon Heart wasn't that dangerous. It was Old Man Yuan who caused so much damage. With Fushi and the others moving about, the upheaval of the three realms was definitely going to be completely different from how it had originally been. However, in the grand scheme of things, the upheaval of the three realms was a very small matter. The greatest danger of the desolate universe was that one of the disciples of the Yin-Yang Paragon, the old Black Yak, wanted to seize the position of Lord of the desolate universe. Let's first deal with the affairs of the three realms, and then Liu chuckled. The major powers of the three realms that I've heard so much about are far too weak when compared to the primal chaos. So weak that even I can't stand to watch. Tathagata, three purities, Patriarch Subhuti, these major powers, when placed in the primal chaos, would only be considered mid-tier powers. They weren't worthy of their illustrious titles at all. That's why I should have these major powers of the three realms fight in the primal chaos. The Taoist path will preach the Tao to the world, while the Buddhist Sangha will deliver the masses. That will be interesting. Having made up his mind, Liu decided to play yet another game. Come to think of it, the greatest achievement of the primordial school is to become a teacher for these major powers. Wouldn't it feel great to see all these familiar mighty figures kneel before me respectfully and call me teacher? He had played Transmigration, Rebirth, Reincarnation, and Return of the Great Sage, but he hadn't played Purple Firmament's Palace yet, had he? As soon as this idea came to him, he began to play again. And so, boom, in the entire three realms, every living being in every corner of the endless worlds heard the rumble that originated from the great Tao. Between heaven and earth, there were many colors. First, there was the chaos that filled the air. It was formless and intangible, neither big nor small. The laws did not appear, and the secrets of heaven did not exist. Then a speck of light shone in the chaos. Yin and Yang separated, and the great Tao was born. The black and white Taiji Yin and Yang fish spun endlessly, and the 3,000 great Tao were born. A wisp of Xian Huang Qi lingered. The 5 elements separated, the 8 trigrams were born, and everything in the world was born. At the beginning of the chaos, Yin and Yang appeared, and the Xian Huang Qi of heaven and earth was born. A mighty song spread throughout the 3 realms and every corner of the endless space-time. At this moment, the entire 3 realms, from the ancestor gods and golden immortals to the ordinary living beings, were all dumbfounded and inexplicably shocked. Which mighty figure is this? Countless immortals and mortals were shocked and puzzled. This perfected Xianhuang? When Fuxi, Gonggong, Hou, and the others saw this scene and heard the familiar poem, they were all surprised and overjoyed. My name is Xianhuang. Now that I have attained the Tao, I have opened the Xianhuang Palace in the chaos outside the 3 realms and preached the 3,000 great Tao. Those who are fated can come to the Xianhuang Palace to listen. The mighty voice spread throughout the 3 realms and the endless space-time. Under everyone's shocked gazes, the Xianhuang Qi rose and rushed out of the 3 realms into the endless chaos. Boom! As if the world was being split open, a violent rumble exploded in the endless chaos. Earth, water, fire, and wind surged. Yin and Yang separated, stabilizing the earth, water, fire, and wind. The 3,000 great Tao manifested, and Xianhuang flowed. An ancient Taoist temple appeared in the chaos. Inside the temple, a figure in fluttering white robes stepped into the endless light and walked into the Xianhuang Taoist temple. There are 3,000 great Tao, and all can be proven. In 3 days, I will preach the Tao in the Xianhuang Palace. Those who are fated can come and listen. With a flash of light, the Xianhuang Taoist temple disappeared into the endless chaos without a trace. 3,000 great Tao? Preaching? A fortuitous opportunity. A peerless fortuitous opportunity. At this moment, the hearts of all the immortals in the 3 realms burned with passion. Chapter 11:23. The 3 realms actually has such a powerful figure. The Tao Fathers and immortals of the 3 realms were all stunned when they saw that hand cleaving apart heaven and earth from the primordial chaos and manifesting the 3,000 grand Taos. His casual movements were even more powerful than when Nuwa had left the 3 realms after becoming a world god. Where did this Taoist black-yellow come from? Why have I never heard of him before? The countless immortals and Tao Fathers were all puzzled, unable to figure out what was going on. Which realm did this Taoist black-yellow come from? Given his power, he should be an eternal emperor, right? Why would an eternal emperor come to a desolate place like the 3 realms? Old man Yuan, who had a guilty conscience, was both shocked and worried when he saw the commotion Liu had caused. Now that such a powerful figure had appeared, would the 3 realms still be able to continue playing this game of chess? While the gods and Buddhas of the 3 realms were bewildered, Qi Hung was similarly bewildered within the Grand Xia dynasty. Someone like this actually exists in this era? Even as autarch Hun Yuan looked at this Taoist black-yellow, Qi Hung felt as though he was unable to see through him. At the very least, this Taoist black-yellow was no weaker than an Omega autarch in power. If I could go to the primordial chaos and listen to this Taoist black-yellow speak of the Tao, it would be of great benefit to my cultivation. Alas, given my current level of power, there's no way I'll be able to go there. Qi Hung let out a long sigh, then shook his head. I have to work hard to improve my power. As Qi Hung sighed, Ning sighed as well, cleaving apart heaven and earth with a wave of his hand, leaping out of the 3 realms and transcending the 5 elements. This is a truly unfathomable figure. This is what cultivation should be like. Ning's blood began to boil, and his resolve to cultivate grew even more resolute. Alas, I won't have the chance to listen to the Tao. There's no way for me to go to the primordial chaos. In 3 days, Taoist Black Yellow will speak of the Tao. I have to go. I can't miss it. Within the three realms, countless immortals, Buddhas, fiend gods, and fiend gods all charged out of their estates and towards the primordial chaos outside the three realms. Countless immortals, Buddhas, fiend gods, and fiend gods flew through the primordial chaos as they saw the palace. However, after flying for more than hundreds of millions of miles, they were unable to find the profound yellow palace at all. Only then did everyone remember the saying, "Those who are fated can come and listen to the Tao." In other words, only those who were fated could enter the mysterious yellow palace. Those who could not find the mysterious yellow palace were naturally not fated. In the primordial chaos, the void beyond the heavens was vast and boundless. Finding a Taoist temple was countless times harder than finding a needle in a haystack. However, no one wanted to miss out on the opportunity to listen to Tao. Even though they could not find the profound yellow palace for the time being, none of the cultivators gave up. They continued to focus on searching. We're actually the earliest to arrive. After Fushi, Gonggong, Ho Yi, and Chong, he stepped into the primordial chaos. They flew for a while and saw an ancient Taoist temple floating in the surging yellow clouds in the void ahead. It was just an ordinary Taoist temple with green bricks and green tiles. It looked completely like ordinary bricks and stones from the mortal world. There was nothing special about it. However, in the eyes of Fushi and the others, this ordinary Taoist temple faintly revealed the concept of standing above the world and at the peak of the Grand Tao. As expected of a senior expert, everyone's hearts trembled. Their expressions were solemn as they slowly stepped into the yellow clouds. The yellow clouds surged, and a bluestone path appeared in the clouds. They walked along this path and arrived outside the mysterious yellow palace in a short while. A plaque hung high above the door of the ancient Taoist temple. The three simple words "Mysterious Yellow Palace" were written on it. The door was open, and there was no one inside. There was only a 36-layered lotus throne on the highest platform. This 36-layered lotus throne was naturally the seat of the mysterious yellow immortal. Below the platform, in the first row, there were 9 futons placed side by side. Apart from these 9 futons, the other places were empty. There was nothing else. 9 seats? Are only 9 people fated to listen to the Tao? Out of the 9 spots, Fushi and the others had already taken up 4 of them. This was a great opportunity. Therefore, the 4 of them walked to the front row and sat side by side from left to right. Merciful Buddha, fellow Taoists, this humble monk has arrived late. A Buddhist chant rang out. Lord Tathagata smiled as he walked into the mysterious yellow palace, nodding towards Fushi and the others. Tathagata smiled when he saw the futons in the first row, then walked forward and sat down to Hoi's right. Fellow Taoists, you came early. I have arrived late. An azure-robed old Taoist stroked his white beard as he walked in with a smile. This was the 3 purities. Fine. There was only a single 3 purities in this world. His name was 3 purities. Listen to the Tao at the mysterious yellow palace. I never would have thought that I, Serene, would be so lucky. A streak of fiery light flashed past the palace gates. The holy emperor of a human race, Serene, stepped into the mysterious yellow palace. Serene smiled when he saw the seats in the front row, then sat down next to Taoist's 3 purities. 7 of the 9 seats were already filled. 2 were still empty. Most likely, once all 9 seats were filled, Taoist Mysterious Yellow would begin his Tao lecture, right? These 2 seats. Who could the person who came here be? The 7 people in the mysterious yellow palace were all rather curious. This is the mysterious yellow palace? A youth dressed in mysterious yellow robes appeared at the entrance, his face filled with shock. I just walked through the door of the inn. How did I end up in the mysterious yellow palace? This was a young Zifu realm cultivator. The people in the mysterious yellow palace were all stunned when they saw this youth arrive. However, when they thought of Taoist mysterious yellow's words. All those who are fated may come and listen to the Tao. I am Qi Hung. Greetings, seniors. The people in the mysterious yellow palace all had vast, unfathomable auras. Qi Hung knew that these people had to be the supreme experts of this world. Since they were fated to listen to the Tao together, he naturally had to greet them. So it's fellow Taoist Qi Hung. We're all here to listen to Taoist Mysterious Yellow's Tao lecture, so there's no need to be so polite. Please sit. Swearin greeted him with a smile. The other smiled and nodded at Qi Hung as well. Many thanks. Qi Hung smiled, then walked over to the futon and sat down next to Swearin. Huh? No way. I actually came to the mysterious yellow palace. Yet another youth appeared at the entrance. This was a youth dressed in furs and carrying a black, sheathed longsword on his back. This person was naturally Ning. Brother Qi is here as well? After walking into the mysterious yellow palace, Ning immediately saw Qi Hung, and then he saw a group of experts with vast, boundless auras. I am Ji Ning. Greetings, seniors. Ning bowed towards them, then walked to Qi Hang's side and sat down on the futon. The 9 seats were all filled. Taoist Mysterious Yellow should be about to begin his Tao lecture, right? The Mysterious Yellow Palace. The Mysterious Yellow Palace. We found the Mysterious Yellow Palace. We are all fated people as well. Outside the palace, a series of joyous laughter rang out. And then, thousands of figures hurried over at high speed, all of them solemnly walking into the Mysterious Yellow Palace. The seemingly small Mysterious Yellow Palace, after this group of people arrived, instantly became incomparably vast, as though it was a vast, boundless world. More and more people arrived. Soon, the entire Mysterious Yellow Palace was filled with more than 100,000 immortals from all over the world. In the entire Mysterious Yellow Palace, Qi Hung and Ji Ning, 2 minor Zifu disciples, were actually seated in the first row. This was simply too eye-catching. Many people couldn't bear to see this, and they began to stir. High above the 9 layers of clouds, my futon attains the truth. Beyond the heavens and the earth, I am the headmaster. A long, sonorous song rang out, and the mysterious yellow palace began to surge. A white-robed figure appeared amidst the radiance, seated atop the 36th lotus dais. Greetings, Taoist Mysterious Yellow. After Li Yu appeared, those restless people no longer dared to make any moves. Everyone simultaneously bowed towards Li Yu. 10,000 immortals came to greet him, and the gods kowtowed. Big Boss Li's Tao lecture game had officially begun. Chapter 1124. Everyone, please rise. Li Yu sat on the high platform, surrounded by immortal clouds and intertwined with the great Tao. It was mysterious and unfathomable. Time was sparkling and space was layered. Karma did not appear and fate did not exist. His entire person was vague and unreal. It seemed to exist and not exist at the same time. This scene made the hearts of the immortals, Buddhas, gods, and demons tremble. They did not dare to be negligent. They looked forward to the preaching of Tao ancestor Xian Wang even more. Ding! With a chime, a faint fragrance filled the air. Just this fragrance alone made everyone in the Xian Wang palace tremble. It was as if there was endless mystery lingering in this fragrance. This is the flower of the great Tao tree. The 3,000 great Tao are in it. If I don't scare you, wouldn't I have been acting cool for so many years in vain? With a serious face, Li Yu sat cross-legged on the 36th level lotus platform. With a wave of his hand, endless immortal light scattered in the hall. The Tao that can be explained is not the Tao. The name that can be named is not the name. The name is the beginning of heaven and earth. The name is the mother of all things. In terms of preaching and showing off, the Tao Te Ching was naturally the first choice. Whether you understand or not, I will say it like that. However, Li Yu is not completely tricking them in this preaching. Using the Tao Te Ching as a guide, Liu demonstrated the 3,000 great Tao as he spoke. Even if they could not comprehend the true meaning of morality, they would naturally gain a lot by observing the 3,000 great Tao. The order of the great Tao, all things in heaven and earth, all living beings in the world, are in it. The Tao of karma is the principle of karma. The Tao of fate is the master of fate. The 3,000 great Tao is the same. When the great Tao was preaching, there was naturally a lot of flowers and golden springs. One after another, huge flowers began to fall from the sky. The bright yellow flower of merit, the black and white flower of morality, the golden flower of holy virtue, the red flower of fortune, and the white flower of nether virtue. Strange flowers danced in the sky. The 5 virtues gathered and the great Tao resonated. From the boundary monument of the Emperor of Origin, Liu had already obtained all the laws of this world. If he wanted the 5 virtues, wouldn't it be as easy as flicking his finger? The 5 virtues of heaven. Teachers preaching of the Tao has such an atmosphere. When such a scene appeared, everyone present became extremely respectful. They didn't dare to show the slightest disrespect to this cheap teacher. Supreme Celestial, the master of all Taoists? Qi Heng was horrified. With the memories of Supreme Hun Yuan, he naturally knew how terrifying this realm was. This was already at the level of the Emperor of Origins. If it weren't for the fact that the continent of origin had already shattered and turned into endless space-time, making it impossible for a new Emperor of Origin to appear, Qi Heng would have had the urge to turn around and run. Qi Heng had a deep understanding of the terror of the Origins Emperor. Being able to change great Tao laws with a raise of a hand was simply invincible. 129 Omega Autarchs had sacrificed themselves in order to kill the Genesis Emperor. The 3,000 great Taoists are all here. Radiance filled the sky as the Taiji 8 trigrams appeared in midair. Tao laws intertwined. 3,000 great Taoists and countless Tao laws were evolving. The great path is endless, and so is the path of cultivation. Mortals go against the connate heavens and establish their purple palace. Myriad phenomena are reflected in their hearts, hoping that their essence soul will remain immortal and become an earth immortal. When the gene Dan enters the stomach, celestial immortals become immortal. After that, golden immortals fuse with the Tao until they control the great Tao of a world and become the lord of a world. Liu explained the cultivation realms as he projected the scenes of the great Tao. He wanted to broaden the horizons of the natives of the 3 realms and let them know that a golden, immortal Tao ancestor of a world was nothing. However, there are worlds beyond worlds and world beyond worlds. Beyond great Taoists, there are great Taoists. This is the 3 realms. With a wave of his hand, the scene of the 3 realms appeared in front of everyone. It kept shrinking until it turned into a speck of dust. Then, countless specks of dust and countless specks of light formed a vast world. This is the desolate universe. The endless 3 realms were worlds that formed the desolate universe. However, beyond the desolate universe is an even vaster world. With a wave of his hand, the desolate universe kept shrinking as countless celestial bodies appeared in midair. There are a total of 9 worlds equivalent to the desolate universe. In addition, there are endless space-time and endless worlds. Liu's demonstration caused the natives of the 3 realms to stare, slack-jawed. The world was actually this vast. The 3 realms was actually nothing more than a speck of dust. Indeed, there were worlds beyond heaven and earth, and grand Taoists beyond heaven and earth. Mastering a grand Tao of the 3 realms and becoming a golden, immortal Tao ancestor was nothing in the face of endless space-time. Master, dare I ask, in the endless space-time, what level of power is supreme? Taoist 3 purities bowed, then asked the question that everyone had been waiting for. 3,000 grand Taoists. Mastering one will allow one to reach the apex of power. One Tao will command all Taoists, allowing one to become an eternal Omega Autarch. Such a figure is known as an Omega Autarch. Those who control a major world like the desolate universe are known as Omega Autarchs. This is the highest level of power. Fine. Even Liu felt rather resigned when he heard this. Eternal Omega Autarch Grand Tao. It was as though the more adjectives one had, the more powerful one would be. However, there was nothing Liu could do. This was how the creator of this world had set things up. Given Liu's current level of insight, there was no way he could change this. Master, dare I ask, how can one reach the apex of mastery over the 3,000 Grand Taos? Tathagata rose to his feet and bowed, then asked Liu for guidance. To gain insight into the 3,000 Grand Taos and understand the Taos in your heart, this is attaining the Tao. To practice the Grand Tao and gain insight into the Grand Tao, this is attaining the Tao. The will of the heavens is my will. The Grand Tao is me, and I am the Grand Tao. This is attaining the Tao. The Tao is in all things in the world, and the Tao is in my heart. So that's how it is. Thank you for your explanation, Master. Thank you for your explanation, Master. Everyone bowed deeply. Master, dare I ask, what level of insight are you at? Old Man Yuan was already beginning to feel uneasy towards Liu, who had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. If Liu was to permanently reside in the three realms, his plans would be completely ruined. My level of insight? Liu chuckled. The Grand Tao is me, but I'm not the Grand Tao. The Tao follows nature, returning to simplicity. I am who I am. I am who I am. At this moment, the hearts of all the immortals and Buddhas in the hall were filled with shock. This level of insight was already above the Grand Tao, right? Their teacher was actually this terrifying? Today's Tao lecture has come to an end. The karmic ties have come to an end. The heavenly yellow palace will once again return to the primordial chaos, no longer interfering with the affairs of the world. In the future, when you attain the Tao, you might have a chance to meet again. Liu chuckled and announced the end of the Tao lecture. As for the matter of the treasure-snatching rock, how could someone as stingy as Big Boss Lee possibly be so generous? The fact that the lecture didn't trick them into becoming crippled was already an act of kindness and benevolence. Yet they still wanted treasures? Master, may I ask if there is a reason for the first row of seats? Patriarch Infernal Wind Fiend bowed towards Liu, asking for guidance. His eyes, however, drifted towards the two Zifu realm youths seated. Countless people in the heavenly yellow palace were listening to the lecture, but there were only 9 seats. No one would believe that there was no reason for these 9 seats. Countless major powers have been unable to get a seat, but 2 ants had managed to snatch it. If this was a stroke of luck, how could anyone accept this? There's no other reason. It's just fate. When the heavenly yellow palace opens, those who are deeply fated will arrive first, those who are not will arrive later, and those who are not will not be able to meet again. Liu chuckled and waved his hand. The Tao lecture at the heavenly yellow palace is over. You may all leave. With a wave of his sleeve, the world spun, and in an instant, everyone returned to their original positions. The Tao lecture at the heavenly yellow palace, the future of the 3 realms, had already taken a different path. Was it a blessing or a curse? No one knew. Chapter 1125. Tao Father Black Yellow, the master of all immortals. How could there be someone like him in the world? After the Tao lecture at the Dark Yellow Palace was over, the immortals, Buddhas, fiend gods, and fiend gods all returned to their respective residences. They were no longer able to remain calm after the Tao lecture they had just experienced. The profound mantra of virtue, the unfathomable 3,000 Grand Taos, the infinitely vast outer realms, and the Omega Autarch level of mastery over all the Taos, all of them felt their hearts burn with passion. As for those who weren't fated to hear the Tao lecture, when they learned of the Tao lecture at the Dark Yellow Palace through the mouths of their friends and the conversations of others, they felt a deep sense of frustration that was impossible to describe with words. Thousands of words, but in the end, they all let out a long sigh. Not fated to hear the Grand Tao. What a waste of opportunity. Those who weren't able to hear the Tao lecture at the Dark Yellow Palace felt too embarrassed to even greet others. Some golden immortals and pure yang true immortals weren't fated to hear the Tao lecture, but Qi Hung and Ning, two Zephyr-level ants, were actually able to sit in the first row. This naturally attracted the attention of countless major powers. You can't divine their origins? Many major powers secretly tried to divine Qi Hung and Ning's origins, but they were completely unable to divine anything at all. They really are fated to meet Tao Father Black Yellow. Upon seeing the results of this divination, even some of the major powers who had other thoughts didn't dare to do anything. This had nothing to do with Liu. It wasn't him who had hidden the secrets of the heavens. It was Fuxi. Fuxi, the Holy Emperor, had seen two human juniors who were fated to meet Tao Father Black Yellow. How could not take care of them? He had used the Khanate Grand Tao of Tai to conceal their origins. I didn't expect that I would be fated to meet Tao Father Black Yellow. Qi Hung let out a sigh, then smiled and shook his head as he walked through the door of the inn. Tao Father Black Yellow's level of cultivation is higher than even when I was Autark Hunyuan in my past life. I didn't expect that someone like him would be born after the Genesis continent was shattered. In terms of what he gained from listening to the sermon, Qi Hung probably gained the most out of everyone in the Heavenly Yellow Palace. Autar Hunyuan was an Omega Autark, after all. With the experience of that life as a reference, Qi Hung had a deeper understanding of the 3,000 great Tao that Tao Ancestor Black Yellow had demonstrated. The power of the earth isn't just the power of the earth. In my previous life, although I also evolved the 5 elements, my foundation was always the power of the earth element. Sitting cross-legged on the bed in the inn, Qi Hung recalled the enlightenment he had gained from listening to the Tao, and he had an epiphany. What is the earth? The earth is the mother of all creation. The earth gave birth to life, giving birth to all living things. Flowers, plants, and trees were born from the earth. Birds, beasts, insects, and fish lived on the earth. All kinds of metals and minerals were born from the earth. Lava was born from the earth. Rivers, lakes, and seas were also born from the earth. It's no wonder that when I was Prime Hunyuan in my previous life, I always felt that this great earth path had yet to reach its peak. I see. Qi Hung had already understood something. From the path of the Lord of the Earth, he had comprehended a higher level, which was the mother of all things. Boom! In his sea of consciousness, the image of the earth exploded. All kinds of flowers, plants, and trees grew on the ground. Metals and minerals appeared on the ground. Lava also appeared underground. On the earth, rivers, lakes, and seas were born. The 5 elements manifested, and all things were born. After listening to the Tao and gaining enlightenment, Qi Hung's path of cultivation improved even further. At this point, his power was no longer based on the earth element. Instead, it was based on the 5 elements. Big Boss Lee was very appreciative of this change. Host, isn't it just going through a mind? Although I had the intention to play around when I preached the Tao, wasn't it more to use you as lab rats? His Majesty Emperor, you had never been a charitable person. Large-scale experiments, extensive experiments, and all kinds of experiments were to find a way to advance to chaos nothingness. Although the possibility of success is very low, what if it succeeds? The greatest difficulty in cultivating chaos nothingness was that all things returned to chaos and turned into nothingness. However, Liu himself was also one of the all things. The biggest obstacle was how to maintain one's own existence when one transformed into chaos. Since he couldn't think of a way, he could only bring disaster to the world and scam the world. Qi Hung was an experimental subject, and so was Ji Ning. In fact, all the immortals and gods in the 3 realms who came to listen to the Tao were experimental subjects. I am a businessman with a conscience. I am full of integrity. Even if the experiment doesn't succeed, it will only benefit you. After all, given your level, you don't have the ability to destroy yourselves even if you want to. As for whether or not the controller of the Sith universe, Autark Yin Yang Old Black Bull, would destroy himself, Liu felt that this was a small detail that could be ignored. Shi Heng had gained a lot of insights, and Jining had also gained a lot. I didn't expect that I would have such an opportunity. Listening to the Tao in the Xianhuang Palace was an eye-opener for Jining. All the legendary immortals, Buddhas, gods, and fiend gods, familiar figures, appeared before his eyes. In addition, Jining was in the same class as these figures. It was as if a pie had fallen from the sky. Unfortunately, my level isn't high enough. I don't understand many things that Tao Father Xianhuang said. The mantra of virtue is completely confused. Of the 3,000 grand Taos, I've only gained insight into 2 grand Taos, slaughter and destruction. What a pity. Jining sighed in his heart. He felt extremely regretful that he hadn't been able to learn more. What he didn't know was that all the immortals and gods of the 3 realms who were listening to the Tao had at most gained basic insights into a single grand Tao. For someone like him to have gained insight into 2 grand Taos was already a cheat given to him by Boss Lee. Slaughter and destruction are extremely compatible with my annihilation sword. They practically come from the same source. When he thought of this, Jining's heart trembled. In the past, when he had reincarnated in the Netherworld Kingdom, a fellow countryman had given him this annihilation sword. Although he could only vaguely see a shadow, that fellow countryman was dressed in fluttering white robes, and his figure was extremely similar to Tao Father Xianhuang's. Can it be that Tao Father Xianhuang is my fellow countryman? Jining was speechless, unable to speak for a long time. Good heavens! No wonder I, a mere Zifu disciple, was able to attend the Tao in the Xianhuang Palace. No wonder I was fated. No wonder I was able to sit in the first row. So, Tao Father Xianhuang is my fellow countryman? Do I have such a backer? Jining was both shocked and delighted. No wonder the annihilation sword was so powerful that not even a Wanxiang adept could withstand a single blow from him. So this was the supreme Tao of the sword which Tao Father Xianhuang had created. Isn't the annihilation sword meant for slaughter and destruction? What is the sword used for? No matter how many mysterious and profound things people give the sword, in essence, the sword is used to kill people. Understanding dawned upon him, and a sword cry suddenly rang out in his mind. Clang! A sword howl rang out, and a 5-colored sword light shot into the heavens. Slaughter, destruction, all things in the world, all living beings, all those who go against my will be cut down with a single blow of my sword. Chapter 11:26. Jining and Shi Heng, these 2 fellows who had received special treatment, had made great gains. The other immortals of the 3 realms who were listening to the sermon also benefited immensely. Every word of Tao is a gem. This is the great Tao, the Tao of innate virtue. This is my path. Taoist 3 purities had already mastered the Tao of yin and yang, but upon hearing this Tao, it was as though the clouds had been parted to reveal the blue skies. He instantly understood his own path. Morality is me, and I am morality. Taoist 3 purities roared with laughter. The 5,000 words of virtue and virtue. My Tao is complete. Above Spirited Mountain, the sky was filled with Buddhist light. Tathagata Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, and Maitreya Buddha looked at each other and smiled. If there is a cause, there must be an effect. If there is an effect, there must be a cause. My Buddha is merciful. My Tao is karma. Tathagata smiled as he picked up the flower. Only through annihilation can one achieve transcendence. Amitabha. The Amitabha Buddha put his palms together, and the will of nirvanic extermination circulated endlessly. After nirvana, nirvana will naturally follow. The Maitreya Buddha laughed. I shall wield holy virtue and benefit the common people. Holy Emperor Xianyuan raised the Xianyuan sword, and his body shone with golden light. Eternal flame, eternal human Tao. My Tao is fire. Sueren Shi's entire body emitted the mighty fire of civilization. Shen Nong tasted hundreds of herbs. His merit is immeasurable. Shenong carried the herb basket and stroked his beard with a smile. After the Tao lecture in the profound yellow palace, the immortals and gods of the three realms each had their own insights and comprehended a great Tao that was most suitable for them. After being tormented by Li Yu, the immortals of the three realms were no longer the weaklings they used to be. It must be understood that the most powerful figure of the three realms, Nuwa, was only a high-level world god. The others were mostly golden immortals, Tao fathers, and elder gods. Such strength in the entire origin time-space, it was completely cannon fodder. Even the Badlands territory, which was located at the borders of the three realms, had countless elder gods and golden immortals serving as soldiers under the command of any Tao Lord. Not to mention that above Tao monarchs were emperors, above emperors were supremes, and above supremes was ultimate supremes. Thanks to Li Yu's torment, the immortals of the three realms had gained insight into the true great Tao. These people now had a chance to advance further. The more progress you make, the more research opportunities one will have. Then, give me a good torment. Li Yu nodded with a smile. Spreading the seeds so widely, there must be something useful, right? The stronger one was the greater the ambition of some people. Tao ancestor Profound Yellow closed the Profound Yellow Palace and no longer meddled in the affairs of the world. To a figure like him, the tiny three dimensions would naturally not be taken seriously. Old Man Yuan's face was all smiles. I never would have thought that I, the Mind Lord, would actually encounter such a stroke of good fortune after possessing a native. My heart force is completely capable of evolving into the Tao of Grand Prime, the only heart and only self. Unfortunately, I only comprehended a single Grand Tao. Only the mind and the self can prove Taishu. If I can obtain other great Taos, and all 3,000 great Taos belong to me, how high will my realm be? A cold light flashed through Old Man Yuan's eyes. I've used heart force to control many people. When these people cultivate their Taos will be mine in the end. Therefore, I need to control even more people. As soon as this thought appeared in his mind, Old Man Yuan's desire to wreak havoc upon the three realms grew even stronger. Since Tao Father Black Yellow doesn't care about the affairs of the world, why should I, the Mind Lord, be afraid of these natives? Your Taos will all be mine. The Mind Lord isn't a very nice title. This is just a title which God Emperor Black Lotus gave me. God Emperor Black Lotus was nothing more than a mere world god. Once I complete my Grand Tao, what will God Emperor Black Lotus be worth? From this day forth, my honorific title shall be Patriarch River Source. Old Man Yuan's ambitions had swelled to new heights. What he didn't realize was that his fate had been sealed from the very beginning. Big Boss Li's fiery pit wasn't something that just anyone would be able to escape from. The Holy Emperor Fuxi was spreading the heart-cleansing mantra everywhere. The undercurrents between the major powers of the three realms didn't have much of an impact on minor cultivators like Ning and Qi Heng. It is time for me to leave Swallow Mountain and head to Anton Commandery City. Ning walked out of the island in the center of Serpentwing Lake, then raised his head to look at his surroundings. He nodded, then released a flying vessel which soared into the skies and headed towards Anton Commandery City. The path of cultivation is one step at a time. Although I've gained insights into a Grand Tao, without a solid foundation, my Grand Tao is nothing more than a castle in the air. Thus, it is time for me to find a sect and train in it. The flying vessel howled through the skies as Ning hurried towards Anton Commandery City. By now, Qi Heng had already made a new plan for his own path of cultivation. I don't lack insights or Grand Taos. What I lack is the resources I need to increase my level of insight. He waved his hand, causing a wooden tablet to appear within it. Upon seeing the words 50 kilograms carved into the wooden tablet, Qi Heng chuckled. This thing, so it's money. After obtaining this wooden tablet from young Master Meng, Qi Heng finally understood what it was. 50 kilograms? Qi Heng shook his head. I'm currently at the Ziful level. If I want to break through to the Wanxiang level, I'll need at least a few thousand kilograms. And if I want to refine my bloodline, who knows how much liquefied elemental essence I'll need. It seems I need to go earn some money. Putting away the 50 kilograms wooden tablet, Chi Hung walked out of the inn. With my abilities, it's easy for me to earn money, said Chinyi. The inn that Chi Hung had rented belonged to the western district of Anton Commandery City. This was a place where all sorts of loose cultivators gathered, and where trade and commerce flourished. After casually strolling through the streets for a while, he saw countless vendors selling all sorts of cultivation resources. Mortal-ranked magic treasures, one tale of liquefied elemental essence. At one of the vendors up ahead, an old man lifted up a mortal-ranked flying sword and called out loudly, "If I want to earn money, I'll have to rely on these things." Chi Hung chortled, then walked towards the old man's stall. He waved his hand. "Wrap it up. I'll buy them all." Eh. The old man at the stall was just about to call out to Chi Hung, but upon hearing these words, he was startled. You want them all?" "Yes." Chi Hung glanced at the old man, then chuckled. "What? You're not selling?" No. The old man hastily rolled up the dozens of mortal-ranked magic treasures on the stall. 63 each, 63 taels of liquefied elemental essence. "I'll just charge you 60 taels. Here you go." Chi Hung took these magic treasures and put them away in his storage space with a wave of his hand. He then extended his hand and handed over the wooden tablet in his hand. 100 kilograms? The old man looked troubled. "Sir, I don't have enough change. How about I have 2 more earth-ranked magic treasures here? You can buy them all right?" "All right." Chi Hung didn't care about earth-ranked or mortal-ranked at all. He didn't care about 50 kilograms of liquefied elemental essence, so there was naturally nothing he couldn't do. "Thank you." The old man hastily handed over 2 earth-ranked flying swords and a few wooden tablets made of liquefied elemental essence. "I'll rely on these things to earn liquefied elemental essence." Chi Hung took the items, waved his hand with a smile, and turned to leave. Chapter 1127. Mortal-ranked magic treasures are worth a tael of liquefied elemental essence. Earth-ranked magic treasures are worth 100 taels, while heaven-ranked magic treasures are worth 10,000 taels. After returning to the inn, Chi Hung released a mortal-ranked flying sword with a wave of his hand. With a flick of his finger, a faint smile appeared on his face. "If I want to earn liquefied elemental essence, I'll have to rely on these things." In this era, the way to differentiate the ranks of magic treasures is by looking at their power. Chi Hung picked up the nether metal flying sword and tapped its spine with a finger. They're all made of nether metal, but there's a difference between mortal-ranked, earth-ranked, and heaven-ranked. The only reason for this difference is that the runes inscribed on the magic treasures are different. When inscribing runes on magic treasures, the higher the grade of the runes, the more difficult it was to inscribe and the more materials would be required. Naturally, high-grade magic treasures were even more expensive. Based on my experience from my past life, I can easily produce low-grade magic treasures like these, can't I? With a wave of his hand, a touch of yellow light lingered in the air, and a huge furnace appeared in the air. "Earthen furnace, rise." Yellow light flashed as the lid of the enormous furnace was lifted. Boundless light swirled around the mouth of the furnace. "Release the magic treasures." With a wave of his hand, the dozens of low-grade magic treasures he had purchased from street stalls fell into the furnace in an unending stream. Not only are the materials of these crude magic treasures impure, the runes inscribed on them are extremely crude as well. My earthen furnace from back in the day was a divine ability that specialized in refining magic treasures. Unfortunately, due to his insufficient level of cultivation, Chi Hung could at most refine heaven-ranked magic treasures. Heaven-ranked magic treasures are worth at least 10,000 taels of liquefied elemental essence. A total of 65 heaven-ranked magic treasures are worth 650,000 taels of liquefied elemental essence, which is 65,000 kilograms. It should be enough for me to break through to the Wanxiang stage. Chi Hung chuckled, forming seals with both hands. One seal after another struck out, causing the earthen furnace to hum and tremble. Boundless light swirled around it, refining the 65 magic treasures one by one. Absorb. After refining the 65 magic treasures, Chi Hung waved his hand, and streaks of light flew out from the earthen furnace. Every single one of these magic treasures was an extremely exquisite top-grade heaven-rank magic treasure. Not bad. With a wave of his sleeve, Chi Hung put away all the magic treasures and smiled. When I break through to the all-creation realm, I'll even be able to refine Earth immortal-level magic treasures. By then, it'll be even easier to earn money. Chi Hung was also somewhat satisfied. My Earth Furnace is the best treasure refining divine power in the world. Liu smiled but did not say anything. Young man, what do you mean by your peerless treasure refining divine ability? This was all an illusion. This was only a part of the system's functions. Moreover, the system had yet to unlock all of its functions. Otherwise, I would have even refined a supreme divine artifact for you to see. I'm going to sell it now. Walking out of the inn, Chi Hung walked toward the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion in Anton County City. The Heavenly Treasure Pavilion was the property of the royal family of the Great Xia dynasty. There was a Heavenly Treasure Pavilion in any county in the world. The things in Chi Hung's hands were naturally not a big deal. However, there would be many opportunities to interact with the Sky Treasure Pavilion in the future. It was necessary for him to explore the area first. Your Excellency wants to sell magical equipment? After Chi Hung walked into the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion and stated his purpose, a silver-robed man looked at Chi Hung with a frown. Although it's disrespectful, our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion doesn't accept everything. In the silver-robed man's opinion, a Zifu realm cultivator like Chi Hung did not come from a prestigious family. It would be impressive if he had an Earth-rank magical equipment at most. A mere Earth-rank magical equipment was being sold at the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Was the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion a junk collector? You don't accept everything? Chi Hung looked up at the silver-robed man, and a sneer surfaced on his lips. This seat doesn't sell everything. Oh, in the end, the silver-robed man was from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Even if he thought that Chi Hung was a snob, he still had a smile on his face. Then, please take out your magical equipment and let me see what you've got. Then I'll let you broaden your horizons. With a wave of his hand, a nether metal flying sword radiating a cold aura appeared in Chi Hung's hand. This is... As an attendant of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, the silver-robed man who was in charge of buying and selling magical equipment and spiritual items was naturally knowledgeable. When he saw the nether metal flying sword in Chi Hung's hand and sensed the sharp and icy cold aura on the blade, the silver-robed man was shocked. This sword, judging from the spirit energy fluctuations, this flying sword was a heaven-rank flying sword. However, no matter if it was the material or the talismans, it was much stronger than a top-grade heaven-rank flying sword. Customer, can you let me take a look? When he saw the flying sword that Chi Hung took out, the silver-robed man no longer looked down on Chi Hung in the slightest, and his tone became respectful. Take it and take a look. Chi Hung casually handed over the flying sword in his hand. Thank you. The silver-robed man received the flying sword and placed it before his eyes to carefully examine it. The more he looked, the more shocked and stunned he was. He was dumbstruck. Such pure material and such fine talismans, it was simply perfect. Even an earthly immortal magical equipment, or even a heavenly immortal magical equipment, was not so perfect. Such a miraculous skill was actually used to refine a heaven-rank magical equipment? Which artificer grandmaster was making such a joke? With your ability, as long as you say the word, countless earthly immortals and heavenly immortals will present you with countless treasures, begging you to refine an artifact for him. Why are you wasting time on a heaven-rank magical equipment? Since this youth in front of him could take out such a magical equipment, presumably he was the descendant of that artificer grandmaster. This sword was refined by that grandmaster for this youth. How is it? Give me an estimate. Seeing the silver-robed man holding the nether metal flying sword in a daze, Chi Hung hastily reminded him. Oh, yes, yes. The silver-robed man returned to his senses and respectfully bowed to Chi Hung. Sir, this flying sword is indeed miraculous and flawless. However, it's only a heaven-rank magical equipment in the end. I can only offer 30,000 taels of liquefied essence at most. What do you think? 30,000? Chi Hung nodded. This price was already much higher than his estimate of 10,000 taels, so there was no problem with the price. All right, I still have some more here. I'll sell them all to you. With a wave of his hand, Chi Hung released more than 60 heaven-rank magical equipment. Huh. The silver-robed man was stupefied when he saw the magical equipment strewn all over the floor and that each item wasn't inferior to the nether metal flying sword in his hand. So many? There were actually so many? That artificer grandmaster. How bored. Oh, how idle was he to refine so many trashy things. Wasting a grandmaster's skills on these things was simply an insult to a grandmaster's skills. I'll buy them. Our Heavenly Treasures Pavilion will buy them all. The silver-robed man hastily put away the magical equipment strewn all over the floor and looked at Chi Hung with a smile. Sir, do you want liquefied essence or Grand Xia Yuanshin coins? I'll use liquefied essence for all of them. Chi Hung needed liquefied essence to increase his cultivation, so he naturally didn't want those wooden tablets. Please wait a moment. The silver-robed man turned and walked into the rear hall. A moment later, the silver-robed man walked out with a storage pouch. Sir, this is your liquefied essence. It's a total of 195,000 caddies. Please keep it well. The silver-robed man respectfully handed the storage pouch to Chi Hung. Sir, my name is Lu Yin, and I am a silver-robed imperial attendant of the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. If you have any needs in the future, feel free to find me at any time. Chi Hung was the descendant of a grandmaster artificer and an extremely caring one at that. As an imperial attendant of the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion, if he still didn't know how to get on good terms with Chi Hung, then he didn't need to show his face. Chi Hung accepted the storage pouch and nodded lightly. The money and goods are settled. Then I'll take my leave. Take care. The silver-robed man, Lu Yin, respectfully sent Chi Hung out of the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. With this liquefied essence, I can also advance to the manifestation realm. Walking out of the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion, Chi Hung was all smiles but didn't know that he was being treated as the descendant of a grandmaster artificer. Then, trouble was born from this. I'm going to confiscate students' phones today. If a student is reading my book, should I take it? Or should I take it? I'm also very helpless. Chapter 1128. 190,000 kilograms. That's enough for me to make a breakthrough. After returning to the inn, Chi Hung activated the seals on his room and began to train in seclusion, preparing to increase his power. Such inns in the cultivation world had their own defensive formations. But Chi Hung still wasn't at ease, and so he added a new layer of seals. The Wanxiang stage is the universe of stars, and Wanxiang enters the heart. Sitting down in the lotus position on his bed, Chi Hung took out his storage pouch. With a wave of his hand, 190,000 kilograms of liquefied elemental essence transformed into a pool of spirit spring water that swirled around Chi Hung's body. Absorb! All the pores on his body opened, and a vast amount of spiritual energy flooded into his body. With an enormous rumbling sound, a spring appeared within his Zifu Dantian. The spring water bubbled, and spiritual energy filled the air. In but a few moments, the spring water began to expand. The spring water transformed into a small pond. An unending stream of spiritual energy continued to gather, and the small pond slowly transformed into a lake. The lake transformed into an ocean. In the end, a vast ocean appeared within his Zifu Dantian. Spiritual energy transformed into water, and within the vast ocean, great waves began to roil and roil. Vast amounts of energy surged within his Zifu Dantian. I've used up 5,000 kilograms of liquefied elemental essence. My Zifu has been opened to the limit. It's time to break through. His hands constantly formed hand seals, and the liquefied elemental essence swirling around his body began to gather, forming a rapidly spinning vortex. Universe of stars, enter my heart. One hand seal after another appeared, and the Zifu Dantian began to rumble. One star after another began to shine within his Zifu Dantian. The sun, the moon, the stars, the universe of stars, in the air above his Zifu Dantian, they transformed into a dazzling starry sky. Stars manifest. With an explosive shout, a vast amount of spiritual energy began to roil within his Zifu Dantian, quickly merging into the starlight above his Zifu Dantian. Rumble. The power of the stars that had been drawn overfused with the spiritual energy of his Zifu Dantian, forming one star after another within his Zifu Dantian. The universe of stars shone, and Wanxiang entered the heart. In this moment, Qi Heng had officially stepped into the Wanxiang stage. 5 elements combined, stars shine. The stars in the air above his Zifu Dantian instantly began to shine. The Azure Dragon constellation in the east, the White Tiger constellation in the west, the Vermilion Bird constellation in the south, the Black Tortoise constellation in the north. Metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, the 5 elements manifested. The majestic power of the stars shone in his purple mansion. He broke through to the Wanxiang level. Qi Heng slowly opened his eyes and saw that there was still quite a bit of liquefied origin essence around him. Absorbing this liquefied origin essence will allow me to upgrade my bloodline. He opened his mouth and sucked all of the remaining liquefied elemental essence into his body. The trace of Hunyuan bloodline in his body continued to absorb spiritual energy. After absorbing all the spiritual energy, the strand of Hunyuan bloodline grew even stronger. After becoming a Wanxiang adept, I was able to forge Earth immortal magic treasures. I'll have to prepare liquefied elemental essence for the next advancement. After ending his cultivation, Qi Heng waved his hand to remove the seal on the door and opened it. You must be young Master Qi. Just as he stepped out, Qi Heng saw a middle-aged man in a brocade robe standing at the door. Who are you? Qi Heng was surprised that someone was guarding the door, and he questioned the person with a frown. I'm Bei Shanai. The middle-aged man in embroidered robes stood with his hands behind his back and nodded at Qi Heng. My family's young master has orders to summon young Master Qi for an audience. Young Master Qi, come with me. Summon me for an audience? Qi Heng raised a brow when he heard this, and anger rose in his heart. I'm the Grand Hunyuan Supremacy. Who dares to summon me for an audience? Is your family's young master someone like Dao, Ancestor Black Yellow? I'm not free. Qi Heng waved his hand, a cold smile on his face. Move aside, don't block the way. Bei Shanai frowned. Young Master Qi, you just came to Antan Commandery City, so you might not know my family's young master's identity. Looking up at Qi Heng, Bei Shanai proudly raised his head. My family's young master's name is Bei Shanhu. My master's name is Bei Shanhuin, and he's one of the successors to the next Marquis of Antan. I know. Qi Heng nonchalantly pursed his lips. I'm not free. How dare you? Bei Shanai angrily shouted. My family's young master admires your talent, so he summoned you for an audience. How dare you fail to appreciate his kindness? Do you believe that with a single word from my family's young master, you won't be able to move an inch in Antan Commandery City? Scram. Before Bei Shan Yi could finish speaking, Qi Heng waved his hand and sent Bei Shan Yi flying. What kind of Tom, Dick, and Harry come knocking on my door? Truly baffling. With a flick of his sleeve, Qi Heng stepped out of the inn, ignoring Bei Shanai, who had been beaten to the point of vomiting blood. Cough, cough. Damn it. Coughing as he stood up, Bei Shanai glared at Qi Heng's back with a face full of resentment. You dare to ignore my family's young master? You dare to attack me? You're courting death. You're just a mere artificer, yet you think you're someone important? The reason for this was naturally the magic treasures that Chi Hung sold at Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. Since the Beishanu father and son were competing for the right to inherit the Marquis of Antan, Chi Hung, the possible disciple of a Grandmaster Artificer, naturally entered Bei Shanhu's field of vision. Of course, Bei Shanhu didn't care about Chi Hung. He was only interested in that Grandmaster Artificer. A Grandmaster Artificer would be very helpful to the Bei Shanhu father and son in their competition for the Marquis of Antan's title. Not only could it bring them great wealth, but it could also help an Earth immortal expert refine artifacts, forming connections and forming friendships. However, there were several types of Grandmaster Artificers. A Grandmaster Artificer who could refine Earth immortal magic treasures, and a Grandmaster Artificer who could refine Sky immortal magic treasures were two completely different things. To refine a Sky immortal magic treasure, one had to be a Sky Immortal. Sky Immortals were top-notch existences in the entire Great Xia dynasty. In Bei Shanhu's opinion, the Grandmaster Artificer behind Chi Hung was at most an Earth Immortal. This kind of person was nothing. What? That brat didn't come to see you? He even injured you? Preposterous. When Bei Shanhu heard Bei Shanye's report and saw the traces of blood at the corner of Bei Shanhu's mouth, he was instantly enraged. A mere void-level Earth Immortal Junior dares to be so arrogant? Bei Shanhu was unable to restrain his anger as he glared at Bei Shanai. Where did that Chi brat go? Young master, this lowly one saw him go to Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. Bei Shanai hurriedly reported. Heavenly Treasures Pavilion? Very good. Bei Shanhu snorted coldly, then waved his hand. Men, prepare a carriage. This young master is going to the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. Yes. A short while later, the carriage was prepared, and Bei Shanhu drove it towards the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion in an awe-inspiring manner. Right at this moment, Chi Hung, who had just entered the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion, bumped into Ning. Brother Chi, you are here as well? Ning and a brocade-robed youth walked out of the carriage together. Seeing that Chi Hung was here as well, Ning hurriedly went forward to greet him. Brother Chi, this is a good friend of mine. Young Master Northmont Byway of the Northmont Marquis Estate. Ning hurriedly introduced this brocade-robed youth to Chi Hung. Brother Chi, I am Northmont Byway. The brocade-robed youth smiled and clasped his hands towards Chi Hung. I've long heard of the reputation of Old Monster Blackmount. I didn't expect that Old Monster Blackmount was actually a young hero. Old Monster Blackmount was just joking. Chi Hung laughed and bowed in return, then gave Ning a glare. The so-called Old Monster Blackmount had definitely been spoken about by Ning. An invitation is not as good as a chance encounter. I have prepared a banquet at the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion to welcome the two of you. Northmont Byway smiled as he led the way, leading the two into the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. Chapter 1129. Come, this way please. Byway led Chi Hung and Ning into the Celestial Treasures Pavilion. They walked along a crystalline walkway, then turned into an exquisite building. Aside from selling all sorts of magic treasures and spirit objects, the Celestial Treasures Pavilion was also the largest money-squandering establishment in Antan Commandery City. The Celestial Treasures Pavilion was the best place for noble clans to entertain guests. Chi Hung, stop right there. Just as Chi Hung and the other two stepped into the building, they suddenly heard an angry roar from behind them. Turning to look, they saw a young man with a golden crown on his head and an embroidered robe. His face was filled with malice, and he was leading a group of subordinates in an aggressive charge. Northmont Fox, Byway, upon seeing this golden-crowned youth, instantly frowned. The fathers of Northmont Fox and Byway were currently vying for the right to inherit the position of Marquis of Antan. Northmont Fox and Byway had long ago become like fire and water. Northmont Fox, young Master Chi Hung is my guest. I won't tolerate your impudence. At a time like this, whether for the sake of drawing Chi Hung to his side or for the sake of his own face, Bai Wei had to step forward. Northmont Bai Wei? So it was you who caused trouble? Seeing Chi Hung standing next to Bai Wei, Fox was instantly enraged. He pointed at Chi Hung. I was wondering why you dared to refuse my summons. So it was because you followed Northmont Bai Wei? Oomph. Do you think he can protect you? I just ran into young Master Northmont Bai Wei. Chi Hung glanced sideways at Fox, a hint of coldness appearing on his face. Oomph. Who do you think you are? You think you're qualified to summon me? Good, good. You better remember what you said. Northmont Fox was so enraged that he began to laugh, a savage look on his face. Brat, unless you hide in Bai Wei's home for the rest of your life, I will definitely kill you. You want to kill me? Then I'll kill you first. Chi Hung was just about to attack and kill Fox, when he suddenly sensed an enormous aura emanating from him, as though warning him not to attack. The Celestial Treasures Pavilion forbids fighting? This aura was extremely powerful. It was at least at the Void level Earth Immortal level. Given Chi Hang's current level of power, he wasn't able to fight a Void level Earth Immortal. You don't want me to go out? Hee, you better never go out yourself. Otherwise, we'll see who's going to kill who. Chi Hung sneered inwardly and flicked his sleeve, too lazy to pay attention to this fly, Northern Mountain Fox. Northern Mountain Fox, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, is not your fox nest. It is not a place where you can act as you please. Northmont Bai Wei pointed a finger at Northmont Fox and loudly rebuked. Sir Chi Hung is my honored guest. I, Northmont Bai Wei, haven't fallen so low that I can't even protect my own guest. What methods do you have? This young master will accept them. Very good. Just you wait. Northmont Fox let out an angry snort, his face filled with savagery. Leading his group of subordinates, he turned and left. This humble one is extremely sorry that young Master Chi Hung was involved in our family's misfortune. As far as Bai Wei was concerned, Northmont Fox was targeting him, and Chi Hung was nothing more than an excuse. What he didn't know was that Chi Hung had already offended Northmont Fox. It has nothing to do with young Master Bai Wei. Chi Hung laughed as he explained, just now, that Northmont Fox sent someone to find me, saying that he wishes to summon me for an audience. Although I, Chi Hung, come from a small tribe, I'm not the sort of person who can be summoned by just anyone. Sir Chi, your unyielding character is admirable. Please. Bai Wei's heart shook, but he didn't show it. Smiling, he led Chi Hung and Ning into the pavilion. Actually, Bai Wei was secretly pondering to himself, this old monster of the Black Mountains who, like Ning, came from a small tribe near Swallow Mountain. What is it about him that Northmont Fox is interested in? During this period of time, Bai Wei had been dealing with the spirit stone mines of the Ji clan. He had just returned to Antan Commandery City with Ning, but he hadn't received any reports from Chi Hung, and so he didn't know much about Chi Hung. Brother Chi, Brother Ji, please. Within the pavilion, there was a beautiful, elegant banquet hall. At this moment, spirit fruit and spirit wine had already been placed within the banquet hall. Bai Wei lifted up his wine goblet, then raised it towards the two. Today, we were lucky enough to meet a hero like you, Brother Chi. And today, Brother Ji came to Antan Commandery City to join the sect. This is a double blessing. Let us drink to our heart's content. Many thanks. Chi Hung and Ning simultaneously raised their goblets, then drained them. Brother Chi, the reason I came to Antan Commandery City with young Master Bai Wei is because I wish to join the sect and solidify my own cultivation foundation. Brother Chi, do you have any plans as well? Putting down the wine goblet, Ning asked Chi Hung this question. Because of the previous karmic luck, I've gained quite a bit. I plan to spend some time meditating on it. For now, I have no plans to join the sect. Chi Hung laughed as he replied. Actually, in Chi Hang's heart, he was an exalted Omega autarch. If he wanted to take on a master, he could only take on someone like Dao Father Black Yellow. How could anyone else be qualified? How could anyone be qualified to be his master? So that's how it is. Ning naturally knew what this karmic luck Chi Hung spoke of was. He had thought that since Chi Hung hadn't completely digested the insights he had gained from Black Yellow's sermons on the Tao, it would make sense if he didn't take on a master. After all, what master's guidance was more profound than Tao Father Black Yellow's sermons on the Tao? Brother G, you are skilled in sword arts. If you wish to join a sect, naturally the Sky Splitter Sword sect is the best choice. Bai Wei smiled as he continued. I have a bit of a relationship with the Sky Splitter Sword sect. If I greet them, Brother G, you'll save yourself the trouble of going through the selection process. When the time comes, you can just join them. Given Ning's power, joining the Sky Splitter Sword sect naturally wouldn't be a problem. However, Ning, who came from a small tribe, might encounter some shady schemes that would steal his spot. Many thanks, young Master Bai Wei. Ning was naturally very happy to save himself some trouble. Join the Sky Splitter Sword sect? Ha ha, you must be dreaming. Northmont Fox's wild laughter suddenly rang out from the other side of the building. Northmont Bai Wei, as long as I, Northmont Fox, am here, those two punks will never be able to join the Sky Splitter Sword sect. Bastard. Upon hearing these words, the elegant, graceful Northmont Bai Wei was so angry that he threw out the wine goblet in his hands. I made a fool of myself. Bai Wei, having vented his anger, laughed apologetically, then turned to look at Ning. This matter, I've implicated you, Brother G. Northmont Fox's relationship with the Sky Splitter Sword sect is even deeper than mine. This matter, it has nothing to do with you, young Master Bai Wei. Even if I can't join the Sky Splitter Sword sect, there are quite a few other sects in Anton Commandery City. I don't have to go to the Sky Splitter Sword sect. Ning felt a wave of resignation in his heart. This truly was an unexpected calamity. I imagine that Northmont Fox is targeting me as well. Chi Hung smiled apologetically towards Ning. I've implicated you, Brother G. However, I don't know a bit about the sect in Anton Commandery City. I feel that the Black-White College is more suitable for you, Brother G. The Black-White College? Since you say it is suitable, then I'll go to the Black-White College. Ning laughed and nodded. He was now somewhat interested in this Black-White College. The Black-White College. Hearing the conversation between the two, Bai Wei shook his head, speechless. Do you think it is so easy to join the Black-White College? The Black-White College is very strict in its selection of disciples. It is a selection of geniuses amongst geniuses. Even Bai Wei himself isn't qualified to enter the Black-White College. You speak as though you can enter just because you wanna. Chapter 1130. Clang, clang, clang. After 3 rounds of wine, suddenly a series of urgent sounds could be heard from outside the building. Honored guests, the daily gambling duels of the Celestial Treasures Pavilion have officially begun. A gentle voice rang out, transmitting into the building where Chi Hung and the others were seated. The gambling duels have begun. This is worth a look. Northmont Bai Wei smiled as he rose to his feet. With a wave of his hand, one of the windows in the building slowly swung open, revealing the situation outside. Outside the window was a beautiful, elegant garden. At this moment, this garden, with its beautiful flowers in full bloom and its small bridges and flowing water, was slowly sinking into the ground. A short while later, the entire garden disappeared without a trace. An enormous dueling arena appeared on the ground. Rower, oh, at each end of the dueling arena, there was an enormous tunnel. At this moment, the roars of beasts could be heard from the 2 tunnels. A single-horned azure horn drake and an armored bear charged out, bellowing. They instantly began to fight. The 2 of you, this is the gambling duel of the Celestial Treasures Pavilion. Bai Wei pointed towards the dueling arena, explaining to Chi Hung and Ning. In the dueling arena, we can place bets on any side. Is that so? Chi Hung glanced towards the dueling arena, then chuckled. Gambling duels and betting? This is interesting. Given Chi Hang's eyesight, or perhaps Autar Huanyuan's eyesight, it was easy for him to tell who was stronger and who was weaker. Northmont Bai Wei, I'm willing to bet 15,000 kilograms of liquefied elemental essence. Do you dare accept? Right at this moment, Northmont Fox's wild Wild laughter rang out from a nearby building. Ha ha! Northmont Byway, you coward. You definitely won't accept my challenge. Bastard. Byway was so angry that his face was ashen. He rose to his feet and roared angrily towards Fox. I didn't bring any warriors for today's banquet. Can it be that you wish to have a personal duel with me? Warrior? A personal duel? Chi Hung and Ning both didn't quite understand what this warrior and personal duel meant. Wasn't this supposed to be a spectator's duel between monstrous beasts? Why was there a warrior and personal duel? A personal duel between the two of us. No matter who dies, it'll cause a war between our two clans. Naturally, it's not appropriate. Don't you have two so-called distinguished guests? I'm looking for that kid with the surname Chi. At this moment, Northmont Fox once again raised his voice in provocation. You with the surname Chi, I challenge you. Don't tell me you're going to run away from the bet battle. If you don't even dare to accept the Sky Treasure Pavilion's challenge, how do you have the face to stay in Onton County City? You're as timid as a mouse. Why are you still cultivating? You actually found me. A cold glint flashed through Chi Heng's eyes, and his killing intent surged. Bastard. Northmont Byway was so angry that his face turned ashen, and he clenched his fists tightly. Young Master Byway, what's going on? Ning was rather puzzled by this sort of gambling match. He hurriedly asked about it. This was a fighter again, and there was even a fighter who personally stepped into the arena. This wasn't a gambling match, but a duel, right? Chi Hung didn't understand this either, so he also looked at Beishan Byway. The two of you might not know. Byway explained to the two of them, the Celestial Treasures Pavilion's gambling duels are not battles between monstrous beasts. Rather, they are battles between guests. Aside from the two combatants placing their own bets, the spectators can place their bets as well. After speaking to this point, Byway laughed bitterly and shook his head. Today, I originally wanted to invite the two of you to a banquet. I didn't want to engage in a gambling match, so I didn't make any preparations. I didn't expect that I would actually run into that bastard, Northmont Fox. Northmont Byway, you don't dare to accept? You don't even dare to accept a bet of 30,000 kilograms of liquefied elemental essence? On the other side, Northmont Fox continued to shout wildly. If you don't dare to accept the challenge, what face do you, Northmont Byway, have to remain here? F***CK off. Flee in a sorry state. Also, kid surnamed Chi, are you going to continue to be a coward? Then why don't you just hide in Northmont Byway's pants? Ha ha! You want to die? A cold light flashed through Chi Heng's eyes, and he suddenly rose to his feet. Northmont Fox, if you want to fight, then come. He knew that Northmont Fox was intentionally provoking him, but no matter what, Chi Hung couldn't swallow his anger. Cultivation was the cultivation of the heart. If one's heart was indignant, if one's breathing wasn't smooth, then what was the point of cultivating? What was the point of cultivating? It was just like Big Boss Lee's motto. If one didn't show off, then no matter how awesome one was still an idiot. To Chi Hung, if things didn't go his way and his thoughts weren't clear, then what the hell was the point of cultivating? With a leap, Chi Hung landed in the middle of the field. Rower. Two demonic beasts in the midst of battle, upon seeing someone land, let out wild roars and were about to pounce forward. Humph. With a cold snort, he released a wisp of the aura of the Hunyuan bloodline. The two demonic beasts were so frightened that their entire bodies trembled. They whimpered as they collapsed to the ground, not daring to move at all. Upon seeing this, all of the spectators in the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion were shocked. Although these two Xiantian demonic beasts were weak and were only used as a prelude to draw out the next wagered battle. However, these two demonic beasts both had the bloodline of divine beasts and were experienced in duels. Why were they so frightened by a snort that they didn't dare to move? This kid actually has some skill. Seeing this, Northmont Fox's pupils constricted, and he snorted. Judging from your aura, you're at most an early-stage, all-creation cultivator. No matter how powerful you are, can you compare to an essence soul cultivator? Northmont Fox turned to look at a large man in black armor beside him. Mengang, You're an essence soul cultivator. You'll deal with him. Yes. The large man in black armor cupped his fists in salute. Meng Gang will definitely chop off his head and ask young master for a reward. Ha! Good. This young master awaits your victorious return. Northmont Fox guffawed and nodded in satisfaction. Boom! Like a heavy meteor crashing into the ground, the large and strong man in black armor jumped down from the pavilion and into the arena. Kid, I am the head of the Anton Meng clan. My name is... No need to introduce yourself. Chi Hung disdainfully waved his hand. This seat has never cared about the name of an ant. You're courting death. With a furious roar, Meng Gang's entire body exploded with a black light. His entire body expanded to 100 meters, and a giant hammer nearly 60 meters long appeared in his hand. Body of the Black Demon, earth-shattering hammer. After executing lawful embodiment of heaven and earth, Meng Gang swung the giant hammer and viciously smashed it down at Chi Hung. Boom! The enormous power shook the void and exploded with a violent boom. It was as if even the air had exploded. Earth-shattering? This seat hates this kind of title the most. As the Lord of the Earth, the title of earth-shattering truly violated Chi Heng's taboo. Therefore, Meng Gang died even faster. Hun Yuan Giant Palm. Chi Hung didn't even take out a weapon or use lawful embodiment of heaven and earth. He just casually swatted out with his palm. After listening to the teachings at the Xianhuang Palace, Chi Heng's Hun Yuan Giant Palm became even more condensed and terrifying. Boom! When he slapped out, a light radiance suddenly exploded from his light palm. The vigorous power of the earth surged and transformed into a giant palm 100 meters long. It was as if the power of the entire earth was condensed in this palm. The power was incomparably heavy, as if the sky and earth were collapsing. Boom! When the palm slapped down, the ground of the arena shook violently like water, and the entire Heavenly Treasure Pavilion shook violently. As for Meng Gang, he was already gone. When the palm slapped down, even the aftershock turned the two demon beasts lying on the ground, not daring to move, into a bloody mist. Meng Gang was directly pulverized. Huh, this person is so terrifying. He's only at the all-creation realm, right? An all-creation realm attack can kill a nascent soul cultivator. Isn't that too awesome? In the entire Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, everyone who saw this scene was so shocked that their jaws almost dropped. Friends, please entrust me with this book. I've never read a book about women either. If you're interested, go take a look. Reborn from a wealthy family. Colonel, restrain yourself. Sweet pet, her parents divorced. And in this life, Jiang Ran chose her mother. Her stepfather had a high position and power, and her younger brother was soft and cute. Everything was blissful, until she changed to a mysterious manager. Good luck followed her like a shadow. Jiang Ran, disdainful face who didn't go to dinner parties, didn't go on variety shows, and didn't accept endorsements. What do you want to do? Manager, upright face asterisk you. Chapter 1131. Brother Chi, is this strong? Bai Wei was so shocked that the wine goblet in his hand fell to the ground. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Didn't they say that he was from a small tribe called Black Mountain Tribe? No matter how much of a genius he was, how could he overturn the heavens? If it hadn't been for the fact that Ning had been constantly introducing him to this old monster of the Black Mountains, Northmont Baiwei wouldn't have paid any attention to someone like Chi Hung. However, this scene caused enormous waves to surge within Northmont Baiwei's heart. For a Wanxiang adept to be able to annihilate a primal divinity cultivator with a single strike, this was too heaven-defying. This is impossible. Northmont Fox was also scared silly. Noticing that Chi Hung was a descendant of a grand artificer, Northmont Fox had also gathered information on Chi Hung. He knew that he came from a small tribe in the Yin Mountain region, and that he was only 15 or 16 years old. It wasn't unheard of for a Wanxiang adept to kill a primal Taoist. However, those were old cultivators who had deliberately suppressed their realms and cultivated for hundreds of years. Just how heaven-defying was this fellow who could annihilate a nascent divinity cultivator with a single strike after cultivating for over 10 years? We must kill him. We must kill him. Although Northmont Fox was arrogant and despotic, he was no fool. Since he had offended such a genius, he must not allow him to grow. Otherwise, there would be endless trouble in the future. He was only in his teens, and he had only cultivated for 10 years at most, but he already possessed such frightening strength. What would happen in a few more years? At this moment, Northmont Fox no longer looked down on Chi Hung in the slightest. He treated him as a great enemy. It's a pity that only Essence Soul Venerables are allowed to participate in the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's gambling match, and not Earth Immortals. Otherwise, I can kill him openly. From Northmont Fox's point of view, no matter how powerful Chi Hung was, could he block an Earth Immortal? His primordial spirit had returned to the void, and he had become an Earth Immortal. Earth Immortal? That was already an immortal. Even if I can't kill him openly in the gambling match, I have other ways. With Northmont Fox's identity, it was not difficult to find an Earth Immortal to kill Chi Hung. Brat, who told you to be arrogant and proud? Let's see how long you can last. With a heavy snort, Northmont Fox flicked his sleeves and roared at his followers. Let's go. Even if you want to leave, you have to pay up first. Baiwei walked over to the window, a mocking look on his face as he glanced at Fox. 30,000 kilograms of liquefied elemental essence. You haven't forgotten, have you? Or you can't afford it? Oomph. This young master can't afford it. Do you think this young master is a poor ghost like you? A mere 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence is nothing in this young master's eyes. He threw down a bag of holding, his face filled with venom. Flicking his sleeve, he turned and walked out of the residence. Ha ha! Northmont Baiwei roared with laughter, feeling extremely proud and elated. Congratulations on your victorious return, Brother Chi. At this moment, Chi Hung walked out of the arena. Northmont Baiwei and Ning hurriedly laughed as they moved forward to welcome him. Brother Chi's strength is astonishing. You are a heaven-sent genius. Baiwei admires you to the extreme. Baiwei now had a clear understanding of Chi Hung. No wonder even a peerlessly talented person like Jining was full of praise and admiration for this Chi Hung. Sure enough, the Flood Dragon did not associate with the Water Snake, and the Luan Feng did not sing with the Sparrow. The friends of geniuses were geniuses as well. Although Baiwei had intentionally befriended Chi Hung and Jining, he didn't do so purely for the sake of profit. Towards his friends, Baiwei was still quite sincere. Young Master Baiwei, you praise me too much. Chi Hung laughed and nodded. Brother Chi truly is formidable. We haven't seen each other for a period of time, but you've already reached the Wanxiang level. You've left your little brother in the dust. Ning sighed in praise towards Chi Hung as well. And then the three sat back down, continuing to drink. Honored guests, this is young Master Northmont Fox's lost wager. A short while later, a female attendant of the Celestial Treasures Pavilion brought over the 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence that Northmont Fox had lost. Congratulations, Brother Chi. 15,000 caddies. Northmont Fox will probably feel heartache for quite some time now. Baiwei raised his cup in congratulations towards Chi Hung. 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence. To a young master like Baiwei, this was an enormous sum of money. It could be considered a small profit. Chi Hung chuckled. He was quite satisfied with this 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence. The 190,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence he had acquired from selling magic treasures had all been used up. Next, he needed to prepare the resources needed for his primal breakthrough, and so he needed an enormous amount of liquefied elemental essence. However, after Chi Hung reached the Wanxiang level, he would be able to forge Earth immortal magic treasures. Making money would be even easier. 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence. He only needed to use a portion of it as capital, and he would be able to earn back an enormous amount. These 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence can be considered an unexpected windfall. Chi-Hung glanced at Ning and Bai Wei, then laughed and nodded. Friends share in wealth. Everyone who sees my 15,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence will have a share. 10,000 caddies per person is just right. How can we accept this? Hearing Chi-Heng's words, Bai Wei and Ning hurriedly declined. If I hadn't run into you two, I wouldn't have come to participate in the gambling duels. I wouldn't have been able to earn these 15,000 caddies. No need to be courteous with me. Opening his storage pouch, Chi-Hung saw that there were 3 golden wooden tablets within, each of which had the number 10,000 caddies written on them. He took out 2 golden wooden tablets, giving one to each of them. This little brother is ashamed to accept this. As the saying went, friends share in wealth. If he didn't accept it, he wouldn't be considered a friend. Bai Wei and Ning weren't the type to hesitate, and so they happily accepted the 5,000 caddies of liquefied elemental essence. The 3 continued to drink and drink. Only when the moon was high in the sky did they leave the Celestial Treasures Pavilion. A day later, Chi-Heng's battle accomplishments at the Celestial Treasures Pavilion had already spread throughout the entire Anton Commandery City. A 16-year-old youth who has reached the Wanxiang level and is capable of slaying a primal adept with one blow? Someone like this actually exists? The Black-White College could be considered the most powerful sect in the entire Anton Commandery City. Their standards for selecting disciples were truly astonishing. At this moment, within the Black-White College, the headmaster, Adept Jade C, had just received this news. He couldn't help but sigh in praise. He came from a small tribe of Swallow Mountain. He should have come to Anton Commandery City to join the sect. Then, perhaps our Black-White College will be able to recruit yet another genius this time. Aside from the Black-White College, the various powers of Anton Commandery City, including the Marquisate of Anton, had all received Chi-Heng's information. They were all extremely interested in this young genius. Wanxiang slaying primal adept with one blow. A 16-year-old youth with peerless talent. His power is astonishing. Chi-Hung had become famous in a single battle. In the cultivation world of Anton Commandery City, Chi-Hung had already become an awe-inspiring figure. Young Master Chi, Lu Yin requests an audience. As soon as he returned to the inn, the silver-robed official of the Celestial Treasures Pavilion, Lu Yin, immediately came to pay his respects to Chi-Hung. So it's you. I was just about to come find you. This Lu Yin was the official of the Celestial Treasures Pavilion who had received Chi-Hung when he had sold his magic treasures. Chi-Hung was preparing to prepare some cultivation resources, and so he very much welcomed this silver-robed official of the Celestial Treasures Pavilion. It is my honor to be of service to you, young master. After becoming famous in a single battle, Chi-Hung was no longer just a descendant of a Grandmaster Artificer. His own value was no less than that of a Grandmaster Artificer. Lu Yan's attitude became even more humble. To have such accomplishments at such a young age, his future prospects, Earth Immortal? Or perhaps Celestial Immortal? In fact, even the legendary Pure Yang True Immortal wasn't impossible. Chapter 1132. It's not a big deal. Chi-Hung glanced at the silver-robed Reverend Lu Yin and smiled. I want 5 elements of Earthly Fiend. It must be first-grade Earthly Fiend. Can your Sky Treasure Pavilion provide it? After ascending to the All Creations level, one needed to condense Earthly Fiend and assimilate the Earthly Fiend into one's quintessential essence. Only then would one be able to sense heaven and earth and become one with heaven and man, breaking through to the Essence Soul realm in one go. An immortal Essence Soul. After ascending to the Essence Soul realm, one could be considered immortal. Originally, Chi-Hung only needed the Earthly Fiend. After listening to the Tao lecture at the Xianwang Palace, he needed all 5 elements to elevate his Lord of the Earth to the Mother of all creation. First grade, earthly fiend? Moreover, it has to be all 5 elements? Even Liu Yin, a heavenly treasure pavilion consecrator who had seen the world, was dumbfounded. For such a supreme-grade divine item, one could forget about it without at least a few million caddies of liquefied essence. No matter how powerful the weapon refinement grandmaster behind Qi Hung was, he did not have such wealth, right? Money is not a problem. Qi Hung waved his hand nonchalantly. It just depends on whether your Sky Treasure Pavilion has these things. All right. Hearing, money is not a problem, Liu Yan's mouth twitched a few times. He was even more confused about Qi Heng's background. If he really came from a background where money is not a problem, why would he want to buy a first-grade, earthly fiend himself? However, since he dared to say such words, it meant that he really could afford it. One had to know that there had never been a case of making a fool out of Sky Treasure Pavilion in history. That was because Sky Treasure Pavilion was backed by the Emperor of Great Xia, the supreme ruler of the world. If the Anton Commandery City branch can't gather it, I'll contact the Sky Treasure Pavilion headquarters in Great Xia's Imperial City right away. We can gather a first-grade earthly fiend for young Master Qi within 3 days. Although Liu Yin was somewhat puzzled, he still accepted the deal. Qi Hung was a genius youth with a bright future. If he had a good relationship with him, he would benefit endlessly in the future. Very good. I'll look for you at Sky Treasure Pavilion in 3 days. Qi Hung nodded. Although Qi Hung only had 5,000 caddies of liquefied essence, he would have countless Earth immortal Dharma treasures in 3 days. It would be enough to buy a first-grade earthly fiend. After Liu Yin bid farewell and left, Qi Hung went to the street stalls and bought several hundred mortal rank magic treasures. The purchase of a human rank magic treasure wouldn't draw too much attention. A descendant of a grand refining master naturally needed a lot of low-level magical equipment to study when learning how to refine magical equipment. I bought over 500 mortal rank magic treasures. It's already enough. After walking around and buying everything, Qi Hung turned around and walked out of the street. Boom! Just as he reached the end of the street, a violent boom suddenly sounded in the sky. A deep black light instantly exploded and enveloped Qi Hung in cold darkness. Space ceiling magic array? Someone actually dares to attack in the streets of Anton County? Qi Hung was both shocked and furious. The Grand Xia decreed that all the prefectures and prefectures in the world were prohibited from using divine abilities and spells in battle. This was to protect the prosperity and stability of the cities and also to show the authority of Great Xia. The Rain Dragon Guards, who were stationed in the various commandery cities of the world, serve as a powerful safeguard for the enforcement of this decree. Qi Hung didn't expect that someone would dare to attack in the county capital, so he didn't pay too much attention. He didn't expect that someone would really take advantage of this loophole. Damn it, this must be Northmont Fox's doing. In Anton County, Qi Hung only had conflict with Northmont Fox, so it was easy to imagine who was the culprit. A blood-red light lit up in the pitch-black great ceiling array. Like red blood vessels, they densely intertwined and filled the entire great ceiling array. Kaka! A thick stench of blood filled the air. The surging blood-red light was like a sea of blood. In this sea of blood, an old man in blood-red robes appeared with a strange cry. The smell of blood filled the air, and a baleful aura covered the sky. Itinerant immortal? Seeing this blood-robed old man, Qi Hung frowned slightly. Northmont Fox sent you here. Itinerant immortals were a special kind of immortal. After the nascent soul returned to the void, they would become an earth immortal. After an earth immortal passed the heavenly tribulation, they would become a celestial immortal. However, those who couldn't pass the heavenly tribulation but were lucky enough to preserve their lives were itinerant immortals. An itinerant immortal's body would be destroyed by the heavenly tribulation, leaving only their primordial spirit in the world. Not only did itinerant immortals have no hope of becoming celestial immortals, but they also had to face a tribulation every 300 years. Therefore, although itinerant immortals had the strength of an earth immortal and were called immortals, they were actually miserable existences. They could only struggle at death's door under the tribulation, and if they weren't careful, they would die. A genius youth. TSK, this old man, hates geniuses the most. The blood-robed old man's face was ferocious, and his eyes were filled with endless resentment. Back then, this old man's talent was meager, and I paid an unimaginable price to cultivate an extremely vicious demonic technique like the blood demon art. That was how I became an earth immortal. After paying so much, why couldn't I pass the heavenly tribulation and become a celestial immortal? Is it because my talent is meager? The blood-robed old man gnashed his teeth at Chi Hung like a wild beast. That's why this old man hates geniuses the most. So you're a psychopath who wants to take revenge on society. Chi Hung also had the memories of an earthling, so he naturally knew that this blood-robed old man was clearly a psychopath. Young genius? Ha ha! The feeling of killing a genius makes this old man very happy. The blood-robed old man laughed maniacally. Brat, young Master Northmont Fox gave this old man a chance to retain his memories and reincarnate. So, resign yourself to your fate. Azura Wraith, Bloodsea Rakshasa. The blood-robed old man roared and struck out with his palm. Boom! The sky was filled with bloody light, and the endless bloody light transformed into ferocious monsters that howled as they charged at Chi Hung. Although itinerant immortals were failures, they still had the combat strength of an earth immortal. There was a difference between mortals and immortals. The strength of an earth immortal was a huge leap from that of an essence soul Taoist master. It was also a qualitative improvement. An essence soul Taoist master and an itinerant immortal were simply not on the same level. This was why Northmont Fox was so confident in killing Chi Hung. This was why the blood-robed old man was so confident in killing a genius. Chi Hung was facing the most powerful enemy to date. What? Someone dares to use martial arts in Anton Commandery City? Who dares to be so arrogant? Who dares to ignore the laws of the Grand Xia? North Anton Commandery City. Rain Dragon Mountain. One streak of light after another soared into the skies, flying towards a street. Someone is using martial arts in Anton Commandery City. Northmont Baiwei and Ning were discussing the matter of joining the sect when they suddenly sensed this disturbance. Instantly, their faces turned pale with fright. Brother Chi. The two immediately realized that Chi Hung had most likely encountered an assassination attempt. Instantly, their hearts grew frantic, and they hurriedly charged out of their room, heading towards the source of the disturbance. Damnable Northmont Fox. He actually dares to do something like this? To use martial arts in Anton Commandery City was absolutely audacious. Baiwei had never imagined that Northmont Fox would dare to do something like this. Chapter 1133. Please don't let anything happen to him. The two felt frantic, and they hurriedly rushed toward Street Vendor. Moments later, the two arrived at the entrance to Street Vendor. At this moment, at the entrance to Street Vendor, a crimson, blood-red light was roiling about. In midair, there was a blood-red cloud hovering there. One streak of bloody light after another intersected with each other like blood vessels, covering the entire blood-red cloud. The smell of blood filled the heavens, and the aura of savagery filled the air. It was like a bloody hell. Humph. How audacious. He actually dares to attack right under my nose? Below the blood-red cloud, a middle-aged man dressed in golden armor, dressed in the garb of a general, stared at the blood-red cloud, frowning slightly. This is the realm-sealing formation of the Blood Sea. Hurry up and break it. The golden-armored general stared for a moment. After identifying the formation, he hurriedly gave the order to the surrounding soldiers. Yes, next to the golden-armored general, a group of armored cultivators, upon hearing the order, hurriedly began to move. Boom, boom, boom. One soldier after another continuously struck out with their hands, forming one seal after another. One streak of light after another shot out, striking the blood-red cloud in an unending stream. However, although the blood-red cloud was struck to the point of shaking violently, it showed no signs of breaking apart at all. The Rain Dragon Guard has already arrived. This is the Rain Dragon Guard Commander, General Han Ting. Baiwei arrived at the entrance to the street. Upon seeing the golden-armored general, he hurriedly bowed. Baiwei greets you, General Han. So, it is a kid from the Northmont Black Tiger clan. The golden-armored general turned to glance at Baiwei, then nodded. It's been a few years since we last met. Kid, your power has improved quite a bit. You're almost at the peak Zifu level. You praise me too much, General Han. Baiwei exchanged some pleasantries, then hurriedly asked, General, what exactly is going on? Oh, this is the Blood Fiend ghost attack. The golden-armored general stared at the blood-red cloud in front of him, then let out an angry snort. Oomph. The Blood Fiend ghost really is audacious. He actually dares to cause trouble right under my nose. He is seeking his own death. Then, General, do you know who the Blood Fiend ghost is attacking? Ning hurriedly bowed respectfully, then asked a question. Just now, I heard from the nearby peddlers that the one who was attacked was a young man wearing a dark golden robe. The golden-armored general shook his head. The blood demon Old Devil is getting worse and worse. He's a loose immortal after all, yet he actually attacked a little fellow. How shameless. Mystic Gold Robe, Brother Qi. Upon hearing General Han's description, Ning and Baiwei both turned pale with shock. They couldn't help but cry out in shock. Do you know that little guy? General Han sighed and shook his head. That little fellow. I'm afraid we can't save him. Upon hearing these words, Ning and Baiwei's faces turned ashen. They felt both shock and panic in their hearts. General, that person's name is Qi Hung. He's the Qi Hung from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, who killed an essence soul venerable in one strike. General, you must save him. Baiwei hurriedly begged General Han. Qi Hung, that young genius? General Han was shocked, angry, anxious, and annoyed. Bastard, blood demon old ghost, you actually dare to strangle my great summer talent? You're looking to die. After cursing angrily, a look of resignation appeared on General Han's face. He turned his head to look at Baiwei and Baiwei, then sighed and shook his head. Unfortunately, I don't know anything about formations. They'll need 15 minutes to break through the formation. The blood demon old ghost is a loose immortal. After all, immortals and mortals are different. That young genius, the blood demon old ghost, he truly deserves to die. General Han ground his teeth and clenched his fists tightly, his heart filled with wild rage. A young genius, a future pillar of the Grand Xia. He had been strangled to death, just like that. How detestable. Rumble. Right at this moment, an enormous explosion suddenly rang out from within the blood-colored clouds. The entire cloud began to tremble violently, as though it had been struck by an incomparably enormous force. What's going on? General Han turned his head to look at the cultivators in charge of breaking through the formation, then let out an angry roar. General, it wasn't us. It seems something has happened within the formation. The soldiers in charge of breaking through the formation hurriedly reported. Within, General Han frowned. Can it be that youth is battling with the blood demon old ghost? And they even caused such a huge commotion? That's impossible, right? A youth in the manifestation realm who had only cultivated for 10-odd years. No matter how much of a genius he wouldn't be able to resist a loose immortal. In fact, not only did Qi Hung have the strength to resist, but he also beat the blood demon old ghost until he was crying for his parents. Loose immortal? Immortals and mortals are different. An ant that can be casually crushed to death? In my eyes, you're the ant. Qi Hang's entire body exploded with yellow light, and the vigorous power of the earth surged with a loud boom, crushing the blood-sea malicious ghosts that were madly charging at him. Did you know? You used a formation to seal this place, blocking all prying eyes. You're seeking your own death. Chi Hung sneered and clasped his hands together. I'll let you see my true strength. Roar! A tremendous roar rang out, and yellow light blossomed in the sky as the vigorous power of the earth swept out. In the vast yellow light, Chi Hung suddenly turned into a huge yellow bear. After absorbing a large amount of liquefied origin essence, the Hunyuan bloodline in Chi Heng's body had grown by quite a bit. Although he still couldn't reveal his Hunyuan true form, he could already transform into a yellow bear for a short period of time and erupt with his strongest power. This transformation skill couldn't be easily revealed. Otherwise, Chi Heng's origins would be inexplicable. More importantly, so you're a demon. Just nice, I'm still lacking him out. Chi Hung didn't want this kind of thing to happen no matter what. If the blood demon Old Ghost hadn't used a sealing formation to isolate the inside and outside of the formation, Chi Hung definitely wouldn't have been able to easily use this transformation divine ability. The current situation was a tragedy for the blood demon Old Ghost. Roar! The huge yellow bear that was 100 feet tall roared at the sky and swung its huge paw, slapping down at the blood demon Old Ghost. Hunyuan Great Handprint. This was the most authentic Hunyuan Great Handprint, which was a bear paw. Boom! A shocking explosion rang out, and the entire Blood Sea Sealing Grand Formation trembled violently from the impact. The blood demon Old Ghost and the vast blood sea that he had transformed into were both destroyed by this palm. Unfortunately, as long as the blood sea is not destroyed, the blood demon will not die. After the explosion, the scattered bloody light reformed, and the blood demon Old Ghost's figure reappeared. Boy, this old man is an itinerant immortal, and I'm a blood demon itinerant immortal who cultivated the blood sea. Even if your strength exceeds my expectations, you can't kill me. The blood demon Old Ghost glared at Chi Hung with a sinister expression. Boy, your transformation divine ability must have a time limit. Once your divine ability is over, you're dead. You're dead. As long as the blood sea is not destroyed, the blood demon will not die. Then I'll destroy your blood sea. The yellow bear roared, and the vigorous power of the earth condensed in its paw. Move the mountain and fill the sea. The yellow light that filled the sky rushed out and manifested into a towering mountain in midair. Then the mountain collapsed with a bang, turning into endless mountain rocks and soil that continuously filled the blood sea. The vast and mighty blood sea was instantly filled with endless soil. The blood demon Old Ghost's face was filled with shock as he screamed. At this moment, he could already sense that it was close. Die. The enormous bear paw suddenly struck out, and the endless power of the earth annihilated the blood sea and the blood demon Old Ghost together, turning them into dust. Crack! After the blood demon Old Ghost died, the blood sea sealing formation began to shatter. Chi Hung hurriedly retracted his transformation divine ability and returned to the appearance of the youth in the mystic gold robe. The sealing formation has been undone. Seal the void and watch out for the blood demon Old Ghost's escape. Outside the sealing formation, a series of shouts rang out. Then, the formation was destroyed, and the scene within the seal was revealed. Chi Hung. Then, where's the blood demon Old Ghost? General Han, Ji Ning, and the others saw that Chi Hung was the only one in the formation and instantly cried out in surprise. The blood demon Old Ghost? Chi Hung pointed at the pool of blood in front of him. Isn't that him? You killed him? A Wanxiang adept killed a loose immortal? My God! Everyone sucked in a cold breath, stupefied. Chapter 1134. Brother Chi has become this strong? 10,000 mammoths slaying loose immortals. This is simply a legend. Ning and Bai Wei exchanged a glance, their faces filled with astonishment. Chi Hung was very strong. However, to the two of them, defeating an Essence Soul Venerable was already an impressive achievement. No matter how strong one was, there was still a limit. But now, Chi Hung had actually killed an itinerant immortal with his manifestation realm cultivation. There were differences between immortals and mortals. The magnificent feat of going against the flow and slaying an immortal was simply unimaginable. Good lad, that's amazing. General Han of the Rain Dragon Guard let out a sigh of amazement as well. He's a genius to such an extent. He's an absolute monster. It wasn't as if the All Creations had never slain a loose immortal. As the commander of the Rain Dragon Guard, General Han's sources of information were far more extensive than Ning's. In the vast and boundless Grand Xia, there were indeed such heaven-defying monsters. However, every single one of those monstrous figures who had been able to slay loose immortals with their Wanxiang bodies were Wanxiang adepts who had trained for at least 100 years. The Grand Xia held this conclave of immortal destiny once every 300 years. Only Wanxiang adepts were permitted to participate. For the sake of participating in this conclave of immortal destiny, some geniuses had suppressed their own levels of cultivation, waiting for the conclave to begin. These geniuses usually cultivated second primordial spirits. Only by joining forces with his main body did he have the combat power to slay loose immortals. Now, Chi Hung, a young man who had only cultivated for a dozen years and didn't have a second essence soul, could actually kill an itinerant immortal. This was too terrifying. God bless Great Xia. General Han looked at Chi Hung excitedly. Little fellow, come to our Rain Dragon Guard. Divine abilities, spells, liquefied elemental magic treasures. You can choose as you please. If you have any questions about cultivation, this old man is always ready to guide you. Thank you for your kindness, General. Chi Hung waved his hand and picked up the Blood Demon Old Ghost storage bag from the ground. He then cupped his hands at General Han. General, this humble one is used to being free and unrestrained. I'm afraid this humble one won't be able to withstand the constraints of the military. The Rain Dragon Guard most likely isn't suitable for me. Don't be shy. Make yourself at home. General Han hastily explained to Chi Hung. Our Rain Dragon Guard is divided into internal and external guards. The internal guards were all subject to military law. The external guards, on the other hand, accepted missions. You're just a member of the Rain Dragon Guard name. If you want to take on those missions, you can. If you don't want to, you can choose not to. Indeed. Northmont Byway nodded towards Chi Hung. Brother Chi, the outer guard of the Rain Dragon Guard is something that all of the major sect and clan of Anton Commandery City have members of. Even the Black-White College and the Northmont Marquis Estate have many disciples who have joined the Rain Dragon Guard. Is that so? There weren't many restrictions on the outer guard army, so it was quite convenient for Chi Hung. This would be very beneficial to his future cultivation. More importantly, Chi Hung's memories were completely detached from this era. In order to learn more about this era, it was necessary to join an official organization. In that case, I'll have to trouble General Han to take care of me from now on. Having made up his mind, Chi Hung decided to join the Rain Dragon Guard and become a member of the Rain Dragon Guard's external guard. Good, that's great. General Han was overjoyed and nodded repeatedly. There really weren't many restrictions on Chi Hung joining the Rain Dragon Guard. However, to the Great Xia dynasty, this young genius already belonged to their system. In the future, as long as they spent more time together, Chi Hung would have a sense of belonging to the Great Xia dynasty. Even if, in the future, Chi Hung grew to an unreachable height, he would still remember this feeling of kinship. Brother Chi, this time you were attacked by that blood fiend. I'm afraid, right at this moment, Ning spoke up from the side. Since Chi Hung had joined a Rain Dragon Guard, and this General Han held Chi Hung in high regard, Ning naturally had to seize this opportunity to find a backer for Chi Hung and prevent Northmont Fox from attacking him again. Don't worry. General Han's face was solemn as he said, I, the General, will investigate this matter to the end. I, the General, definitely won't allow this sort of thing to happen again. Then I'll have to trouble you, General. Chi Hung laughed, clasping his hands towards General Han in thanks. As for investigating this matter, no one took it seriously. Since Northmont Fox dared to attack, he definitely had cleaned himself up thoroughly. Without any direct evidence, the Rain Dragon Guard didn't dare to act against the people of the Marquis estate. However, with General Han's intervention, at least Northmont Fox wouldn't dare to act rashly. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Kid, I'll take you to the Rain Dragon Guard base and let you broaden your horizons. Laughing loudly, General Han pulled Chi Hung to his feet, then led a group of soldiers into the air, hurrying towards the Rain Dragon Guard base. General Han, he really is an impatient fellow. Ning and Bai Wei both felt helpless. General Han had pulled Chi Hung away, just like that, making it so that the two of them had no chance to speak with Chi Hung. This really made them speechless. Chi Hung had gone to the Rain Dragon Guard. However, the effects of this battle hadn't died down. The Bloodfiend Ghost's assassination failed. A Wanxiang adept slaying a loose immortal? Bastard. Northmont Fox kicked over the table in front of him, so angry that his face was turning purple. How can this be? How can he be so powerful? As Northmont Fox saw it, no matter how powerful Chi Hung was, there was no way he could have escaped from the Bloodfiend Ghost's attacks, much less killed him. However, reality had given him a blow to the head. This blow had completely stunned Northmont Fox, a peerless genius who had reached the Wanxiang adept level after just 10 years of training, and who was capable of slaying a loose immortal. This caused terror to fill Northmont Fox's heart. This kid is already so powerful right now. Once he grows up, how powerful will he be? I have to kill him. I have to kill him. Northmont Fox clenched his fists, a savage look on his face. That kid Chi Hung has already entered the Rain Dragon Guard. In order to join the Rain Dragon Guard, he has to undergo a trial. The trial will take place in the wild marshes of the Jail Mountains. A cold snort, then a savage smile appeared on Fox's face. If you can't kill a single loose immortal, I refuse to believe you can withstand the combined might of multiple loose immortals. Northmont Fox was both stunned and terrified. However, everyone else who heard this news was completely stunned. Chi Hung, a Wanxiang adept slaying a loose immortal? A peerless genius. What a peerless genius. What? The Rain Dragon Guard beat him to it? Preposterous. The various powers of Anton Commandery City, upon hearing this news, felt both shock and regret. Such a peerless genius, no matter which power acquired him. He would be a future pillar of power. But now, the Rain Dragon Guard beat him to it. How detestable. Chi Hung also has the nickname of Old Monster of the Black Mountains. Indeed, there are only wrong names, not wrong nicknames. This guy is truly too much of a monster. A day later, the news of Chi Hung slaying the loose immortal blood demon Old Ghost had spread throughout the entire Anton Commandery. Countless cultivators were indescribably shocked and speechless. The entire cultivation world of Anton Commandery was rendered speechless. They could only feel disbelief. 3 days later, all the higher-ups of the Great Xia Kingdom received this news. For a time, the name Old Monster of the Black Mountains, Chi Hung, shook the world and attracted the attention of the entire world. Old Monster of the Black Mountains? Haha, a bit of monster. But he's clearly a little guy, so why is he called an old monster? In the Great Xia Imperial Palace, the Great Xia Emperor, Shimeng, who hadn't shown his face for countless years, smiled and nodded when he saw the information his subordinates had sent him. He picked up his brush and wrote the words, Old Monster of the Black Mountains, Chi Hung, on the screen behind him. Calamity is about to befall the 3 realms, and the winds and clouds are about to converge. A peerless genius is bound to emerge bearing the light of providence. I wonder if this son of destiny is Chi Hung or not. Chapter 1135. Swallow Mountain. Below East Cloud Mountain. Old Monster Black Mountain killed a loose immortal? Old Monster Black Mountain? The leaders of the Black Mountain tribe, upon hearing the report from Black Mountain Gang, who had just returned from the G Clan's West Prefecture City, were so shocked that their jaws dropped. Old Patriarch, this is great news. Great news. Black Mountain Gang was so happy that he danced with joy. Old Monster Black Mountain came from our Black Mountain tribe. Who in the Anton Commandery doesn't know this? Although our Black Mountain tribe is only a small tribe, in the future, who would dare offend us? Right? 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 The leaders all nodded. Although our Black Mountain tribe is only a small tribe, but we have Old Monster Black Mountain, Old Monster Black Mountain, who is capable of killing loose immortals. Loose immortal. That's an immortal. Old Monster Black Mountain. Oh, Lord Black Mountain is capable of killing even immortals. In the future, who would dare offend our Black Mountain tribe? The members of the Black Mountain tribe were all beaming with joy, unable to restrain their joy. Have you thought about it? Old Monster Black Mountain. Oh, Lord Black Mountain, does he still recognize us? The old patriarch raised his head, sighing as he shook his head. In the eyes of Lord Black Mountain, our Black Mountain tribe is probably less than an ant. Would he care about us? Don't be so smug. Hearing the old patriarch's words, everyone's faces froze. Lord Black Mountain, fine. The old patriarch's words were completely correct. Old Monster Black Mountain wouldn't care about the life or death of the Black Mountain tribe at all. Rumble. At this moment, an enormous sound suddenly rang out in the air. What happened? Hearing this sound, the leaders of the Black Mountain tribe all rushed out of their rooms, staring into the air. Seeing the scene in the air, everyone stared slack-jawed. In the air, multicolored light flashed, and a dazzling golden carriage pierced through the air, coming to a halt in the air above the Black Mountain tribe. This was an extravagant carriage, and pulling it were two enormous, golden-armored flood dragons. Those two golden-armored flood dragons emanated a vast, boundless aura, as though they were even more powerful than the Zifu disciples of the G clan that the Black Mountain tribe had seen. Who is it? Everyone was dumbstruck, and their hearts were filled with shock. However, everyone from the Black Mountain tribe knew that no matter who it was, they couldn't afford to offend them. Greetings, my lord. As a small tribe, obeying the strong and compromising was the only way to survive. The people of the Black Mountain tribe hurriedly kowtowed to the carriage in the air. Aya, you flatter me. You flatter me. Seeing the people of the Black Mountain tribe kowtow, a middle-aged man in a green robe quickly jumped up from the carriage and landed in front of the people of the Black Mountain tribe. Sirs, please forgive me. This lowly one is not worthy of your courtesy. The green-robed man hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed to the Black Mountain tribe members. Seeing this, the people of the Black Mountain tribe looked at each other. This azure-robed man before me is at least a Violet Palace realm cultivator, right? This person was actually kowtowing to us, and even said, "Thank you for killing this humble one." What was going on? I am Bei Shanlin. On the orders of my young master, Bei Shanlin, I have come to greet you, my lords. Seeing that everyone was still confused, Bei Shanlin hurriedly explained, "My lords, my young master and young master Chi Hung are close friends. When my young master learned that young master Chi Hung came from the Black Mountain tribe, he asked Marquis Anton for a reward, and the entire area of 10,000 kilometers around East Cloud Mountain will be the territory of the Black Mountain tribe." Territory? The area of 10,000 kilometers around East Cloud Mountain will be the territory of the Black Mountain tribe? Hearing this, everyone was scared witless. Young Master Chi Hung was naturally Old Demon Black Mountain. Oh, Lord Black Mountain. Lord Black Mountain slew loose immortals in battle. So our Black Mountain tribe will have 10,000 kilometers of territory. My lords, my young master has also sent 100,000 craftsmen and 10,000 soldiers. They will build a city here in the Black Mountain tribe. Those 10,000 soldiers will be stationed in Black Mountain City and await your orders. Build a city? All right, the country bumpkins of the Black Mountain tribe were dumbfounded. However, this wasn't the end. In the following half a month, the various factions of Anton Commandery City sent people to deliver gifts. Heishan Gang and the others received so many gifts that their limbs went soft. In the words of the old chief, our Black Mountain tribe has never been so glorious. At the Rain Dragon Guard encampment, Chi Hung shook his head with a smile when he heard this news. All right, since I've borrowed the Black Mountain tribe's name, it's only right that I give them some benefits. However, the gifts given by these forces were completely wasted. In reality, Chi Hung had nothing to do with the Black Mountain tribe. Within Rain Dragon Mountain, where the Rain Dragon Guard was stationed, at the peak of a mountain that pierced through the clouds, there was an immortal cave that was filled with dense spiritual energy. This was Chi Hang's abode within the Rain Dragon Guard. Clearly, only the internal guards have this kind of cave abode. I haven't even finished the entrance test, and General Han has already given me such a gift. This is clearly a gesture of goodwill. Chi Hung smiled. No matter what, this was good intentions, and there were no additional conditions. Oh well, just like the Black Mountain tribe, it can be considered as a sign of kinship. The path of cultivation could only be explored by one person alone. However, even cultivators weren't isolated from the world and needed friends. It's impossible for me to throw my life away for the great Xia dynasty. However, I don't mind repaying General Han himself. As the prime Hun Yuan, how could he submit to some great Xia emperor? He would repay whoever treated Chi Hung well. That was enough. I even ordered first-grade earthly fiend from the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. After all this happened, I didn't even have time to refine the magic treasures I bought from the street stall. Chi Hung needed this earthly fiend Chi in order to advance to the nascent soul stage. He had already ordered it from the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion, so he naturally had to buy it back. Let's refine the magic treasures first. With a wave of his hand, Chi Hung sealed the cave abode and released the earthly cauldron. Vast yellow light surged as the earthly cauldron appeared in the cave abode. He took out the 500 low-level magic treasures he bought from the street stall and threw them into the earthly cauldron with a wave of his hand. Endless light surged within the cauldron. The magic treasures were refined in the earthly cauldron with pure materials and runes inscribed on them. Waves of vast and thin aura surged from the cauldron. This aura caused General Han Ting's heart to tremble, and he immediately charged out. That kid Chi Hang's cave abode? That guy, what is he doing now? Raising his eyes to look at Chi Hang's cave abode, General Han Ting felt a wave of astonishment as he sensed the spiritual energy ripples in the air. This is clearly the aura of a magic treasure, right? And it's the phenomenon of an earth immortal magic treasure taking shape. Chi Hung is refining a magic treasure. He's a Wanxiang adept, but he's able to refine an earth immortal magic treasure? General Han Ting rubbed his head, then shook it. That kid Chi Hung is so strong, and he's so skilled in artifact forging as well. We don't understand the world of monsters. A teenage Wanxiang adept, not only capable of killing loose immortals, but also skilled in artifact forging and refining earth immortal magic treasures. This is heaven-defying, right? Chapter 11:36. Dealing with monsters really is a blow to my confidence. Han Ting shook his head, depressed. Even as an earth immortal, when I forged my own magic treasure, it didn't have such a pure ripple of aura. With a flash of light, Han Ting landed outside Chi Hang's estate, waiting for Chi Hung to finish. Rumble, with a soft hum, the spiritual ripples caused by the completion of the earth immortal magic treasure calmed down. Kid, open the door. What are you up to now? Seeing that Chi Hung had finished forging, Han Ting called out towards the entrance of the estate. General, you're here? Chi Hung waved his hand, undoing the seals, then opened the door to the estate and walked out. General, what are your orders? You were forging a magic treasure just now? You were forging an earth immortal magic treasure? Han Ting raised his head to look at Chi Hung, puzzled. Yes. What is it? Is there a problem? Chi Hung was baffled. How could it be that the Rain Dragon Guard couldn't even forge magic treasures? There's a big problem. Han Ting rolled his eyes. You, a Wanxiang adept, were actually able to forge an earth immortal magic treasure? You call that no problem? Not only were you so powerful, you were also so skilled in artifact forging. How much of a monster did you have to be? Take out the magic treasure you forged, and let me take a look. Han Ting was rather curious about the Earth immortal magic treasure which Qi Hung, a Wanxiang adept, had forged. It wasn't impossible for cultivators who were skilled in artifact forging to forge magic treasures of a higher level. However, that required extremely high artifact forging skills. In order to forge an Earth immortal magic treasure, one had to inscribe runes of the Earth immortal level. Although these runes could be inscribed into the magic treasure embryo through talismans created by Earth immortals, that required an extremely high level of control. The power of an Earth immortal wasn't something that could be casually controlled. If one wasn't careful, one would be blown to smithereens. Qi Hung, this kid, was only in his teens, but his artifact forging skills had already reached such a level. General, please take a look. Qi Hung laughed, then waved his hand and released a short spear magic treasure. A top-grade Earth immortal magic treasure? Did you refine this? Accepting the short spear magic treasure, Han Ting could sense the incomparably pure material and the flawless runes on it. His jaw dropped for a long time. Too monstrous. Too monstrous. Even I, myself, am inferior to you. This was too much a blow. At this moment, Han Ting actually had the feeling that this old man has lived for so long in vain. Good magic treasure. Good magic treasure. After sighing in amazement, Han Ting once again felt a surge of joy. Our Rain Dragon Guard needs this sort of treasure. Little guy, how many earthly immortal magic treasures can you forge? I want as many as you have. The Rain Dragon Guard needs earthly immortal magic treasures? All right. In any case, as long as he had enough elemental liquid, he would be able to buy a first-grade Earth Fiend from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. It didn't matter who he sold the transcendent artifact to. Qi Hung also had a good impression of this upright General Han, so it was naturally no problem to sell it to him. It's all here. With a wave of his hand, beams of dazzling light shot out and blinded Han Ting's eyes. Han Ting was dumbfounded. The dazzling lights that floated like a river of stars were actually earthly immortal magical treasures. There were more than 500 pieces in total. Which magical equipment warehouse did you rob? It took a long time for Han Ting to regain his senses. Earthly immortal magical treasures weren't cabbages that could be found anywhere. Apart from the Celestial Treasures Pavilion, perhaps only the Rain Dragon Guard's armory could produce so many earthly immortal magical treasures in Anton Commandery. General, if you want them, I'll sell them at cost price of 5,000 caddies each. By now, Qi Hung could forge earthly immortal magical treasures at any time. Things like liquefied elemental essence couldn't be easier to come by. Selling them to General Han at a cheap price could be considered repaying him a favor. I can't afford them. Han Ting shook his head with a laugh. I have my own magic treasures. I don't need to buy them. These are the Rain Dragon Guard's purchases of military supplies. It's official business. With a wave of his hand, Han Ting collected the 500 earthly immortal magical treasures. Supreme grade earthly immortal magical treasures. The Rain Dragon Guard's purchase price is 50,000 caddies each. Then many thanks, General. Since Han Ting had said official business, and Qi Hung needed liquefied elemental essence to break through, he naturally wouldn't mind having too much. I only have Yuan Xian. The Rain Dragon Guard's liquefied elemental essence is for military use. I can't give it to you. Go exchange for it at the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. Han Ting brought Qi Hung to the Rain Dragon Guard's military supply warehouse. After registering the magic treasures, he received 25 million caddies of Yuan Xian from the military supply officer. I have the urge to rob you. 20 million caddies of liquefied elemental essence. It's piled up into a small lake. His mouth twitching, Han Ting handed the Yuan Xian to Qi Hung. Kid, you don't need me to teach you the principle of not showing off your wealth, right? Many thanks, General. I understand. Qi Hung cupped his hands in thanks after receiving the Yuan Xian. Even an earthly immortal or even a celestial immortal wouldn't mind being a bandit with 20 million caddies worth of liquefied elemental essence. With this money, I can go to the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion and buy some first-grade earthly fiends. After greeting General Han, Chi Hung left the Rain Dragon Guard encampment and hurried to the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion. Young Master Chi, you've come. Hello, young Master Chi. Greetings, young Master Chi. Chi Hang's illustrious reputation for killing itinerant immortals made him famous. The moment he entered the Heavenly Treasures Pavilion, many people came up to greet him with smiles on their faces. Chi Hung nodded in acknowledgement one by one. He didn't appear arrogant or cordial. He just appeared nonchalant and nonchalant. Young Master Chi's bearing is extraordinary, as expected of a dragon or phoenix among men, an outstanding talent of the current era. He didn't expect that such an attitude would garner a flood of praise. It seemed experts were born to receive praise easily. Greetings, young Master Chi. Young Master Chi, I've already prepared the first-grade earthly fiends. When he walked into the inner hall, the silver-robed honorary elder Lu Yin respectfully welcomed him with a smile and led him to an elegant room. Young Master Chi, this is earthly fiends. Please take a look. Lu Yin took out a jade box and opened the lid, revealing the 5 sealed crystal balls inside. The 5 elements and 5 colors intertwined, illuminating the entire elegant room with a 5-colored brilliance. Not bad. This is indeed first-grade earthly fiends. Chi Hing nodded and glanced at Lu Yin. How much? Young Master Chi, there are 2 prices for first-grade earthly fiends. Lu Yin bowed. The first is free of charge. This first-grade earthly fiends will be given to young Master Chi as a congratulatory gift. Just tell me the second price. Chi Hung naturally knew that this free of charge was the most troublesome. It wasn't like he didn't have money, so he naturally didn't want to have any deep involvement with them. All right. Lu Yin sighed and looked up at Chi Hung. Young Master Chi, these 5 elements of earthly fiends are first-grade earthly fiends. They're quite expensive and require 15 million caddies of liquefied essence. And the price is reasonable. Chi Hung nodded and took out 3 purple gold wooden tablets, handing them to Lu Yin. Every wooden plaque was worth 5 million. He actually has such a large net worth. Lu Yin's heart was filled with shock when he received the 15 million caddies of liquefied essence. He originally thought that Chi Hung would use treasures to exchange, but he didn't expect Chi Hung to directly give him money. Young Master Chi actually carried more than 10 million yuan with him. As expected, he was a dragon among men and indescribably noble. No wonder he could kill itinerant immortals. No wonder he was so strong. Perhaps this young Master Chi's background was unimaginably great. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.